For several days, chaos continued to soar through the skies. After leaving Everpeace, it was as if Xie Changliu's heart had opened up. He finally had a way to release his pent-up emotions. His sword cultivation grew visibly stronger, advancing at a speed that could only be described as astonishing. It was as though the thousands of years of accumulation he had endured in Heaven's End, Ocean's Edge, had finally blossomed and borne fruit. He had now stepped into the true realm of the Sword Dao. What was that sword cannon the nameless twin swords were pursuing? Su Zimo asked. With their level of cultivation, they could never comprehend such a thing, Xie Changlu replied. I suspect the one behind them was Emperor Zhou. That so-called sword cannon is nothing more than a fragment of a manuscript. It isn't powerful in itself, just exaggerated by rumor until it became legend. My master refused to hand it over because he knew that as long as he held the sword cannon, he could stay alive. As they spoke, chaos descended upon a vast ruin. The demonic aura in Su Zimo's hand dimmed, indicating that Elder Zhuoqiu was nearby. We're here, Xie Changlu said as they leapt down from Chaos's back and landed on the ground. Before them stretched an ancient ruin. No one could tell how old it was. Most of the buildings had long since collapsed, leaving only broken walls and scattered stones. Even those remnants had clearly been weathered for countless years, their details eroded by time. What's Elder Zhuoqiu doing here? Su Zimo wondered silently. They walked through the ruins, their feet crunching against uneven soil and shards of stone. After 5 or 6 minutes, they finally saw Elder Zhuoqiu. He was sitting beneath a massive tree. The tree was enormous. Its branches formed a canopy so vast it covered an area dozens of meters wide, like a giant inverted umbrella. Its leaves were thick and lush, so dense that sunlight couldn't pass through. Yet strangely, the tree had long been dead. A dead tree should wither, that's a truth everyone knows. But this one, though lifeless, had leaves greener than any living tree. In his hands, Elder Zhuoqiu held 3 sticks of incense. Before him was a square incense burner, and he placed the incense into it. Laid out in front of the tree were many offerings. He was performing a ritual, bowing deeply before the tree as if paying homage to it. Elder Zhuo, we meet again, Su Zimo said with a smile as he approached. The old man glanced at him but said nothing. He merely stood and gazed quietly at the tree before him. Su Zimo couldn't read his thoughts, but he could tell this was not the right moment to interrupt. The 3 stood in silence for more than 10 minutes. Gradually, Su Zimo noticed something strange. The tree before them was changing. Its vibrant green leaves began to bloom. One after another, black flowers blossomed from the branches, their petals soon drifting down. A soft breeze passed by, and countless black petals swirled through the air. There were so many of them that they almost blotted out the sky above. Elder Zhuoqiu turned slowly and smiled at Su Zimo. See? It's welcoming you. It? Su Zimo asked. You mean this tree? Why can't I sense any life from it? When you left before, Elder Zhuoqiu said, I asked when you would return. You told me, when the 9 Deaths tree blooms, that will be the day I return. I waited century after century. I grew tired of waiting, gave up hope entirely, even accepted my fate. He paused, then added softly, and yet you returned without warning. I don't even know how to face you now. You're speaking of the previous Infernal Lord, Su Zimo replied. I don't know much about him. You are Su Zimo, yes, Elder Zhuoqiu said. But you are also the Infernal Lord. Perhaps Su Zimo can die, but the Infernal Lord never will. I don't like that, Su Zimo said firmly. Understand this. The name Su Zimo stands above all things, even the Infernal Lord. I know, the elder said quietly. You have your own consciousness, but what I said is still true. You'll understand in time. What's the story with Gongyang Su? Su Zimo asked. A man whose fate was written before birth, Elder Zhuoqiu said. You could say he was born specifically for you. I can't tell you more than that. I came here with a few questions, Su Zimo said. I hope you can answer them. I'll do my best, the old man replied. so long as it doesn't break the rules. First, Su Zimo said, I want to fuse the Grand Pivot Godsword. I need someone highly skilled in the art of forging. In the northern sea of the Azure Frontier lives the Dragon Maiden, Elder Zhuoqiu said. As far as the mortal ascension heaven is concerned, all the world's forging techniques trace back to her. Thank you, Su Zimo nodded. Second, I want to enter the land of exile of the primordial demon cave. Is there a way? At those words, a flicker of emotion flashed through the old man's eyes, though it quickly faded. He was silent for a long time before answering. That I do not know and cannot know, but there is one person who surely does. Who? Su Zimo asked. I dare not speak his name, Elder Zhuoqiu said. Aside from a handful in existence, none dare utter it. But you've met him before. I have. Su Zimo frowned. Do you remember the unfinished palace in North River City? The elder asked. At that, Su Zimo's memory stirred. There had been a strange old man there. He had even sung a song. They hadn't spoken much. He said his name was San, Su Zimo recalled. Elder Zhuoqiu nodded slightly. He will know how to reach the land of exile. What's so forbidden about that name? Su Zimo asked with a shake of his head. You may speak it, the elder said, but others cannot. I met him at Unfinished Palace before, Su Zimo said. Do you know where he is now? He's always been there, Elder Zhuoqiu replied. Go to Unfinished Palace and you'll find him. Whether he'll tell you the method, I cannot say. Do you know who he really is? Su Zimo asked. I have some guesses, the old man said. But I'm not certain and I cannot tell you. That is the rule. All things in heaven and earth follow the laws set by the heavenly Tao. Any who break them will face its punishment. Su Zimo fell silent for a while, deep in thought. He glanced around and asked, Where are we? This used to be the celestial battlefield, Elder Zhuoqiu said softly, running his hand along the bark of the great tree. It's long been forgotten by the world. This Nine Deaths tree is awakening. I can feel its life returning. Su Zimo focused, and indeed, what had once been utterly lifeless now pulsed with the faintest breath of vitality. I've never seen anything like this before, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. It's because you've returned, Elder Zhuoqiu replied. When you came back, it came alive, blooming and shedding its flowers once more. Your words have never failed to come true. Do you plan to stay here? Su Zimo asked. I'm uncertain, the old man said quietly. I want to search for the answers within my heart. Perhaps, when that time comes, I'll reappear. And you? Are you leaving? I'm heading to Unfinished Palace to find San. Su Zimo nodded. Take care, Elder Zhuoqiu said. And no matter what, thank you for telling me so much, Su Zimo said with a smile before turning to leave. Wait, the old man suddenly called out. Su Zimo turned his head. Elder Zhuoqiu stood in silence for a moment, then waved his hand. Ripples spread across the air, and from the trembling void he drew out an object. It was a book, its surface shrouded in celestial light. The divine energy surrounding it was thick and alive, and faint roars of beasts echoed from within, carrying the aura of 1,000 creatures stampeding together. This is the Beast Compendium, Elder Zhuoqiu said. It contains the fates of 16 beast races. 16 beast races? Su Zimo frowned for a moment, then understood. The upper 8 and the lower 8 beast races? In one of the 9 heavens, the Azure Mystic Heaven, monstrous beasts ruled supreme. Among them, the upper 8 and lower 8 races reigned as sovereigns, the strongest of all the realms, the rulers of every beast in existence. Su Zimo looked at the Beast Compendium in amusement. 16 beast tribes represented the entire beast race, yet here in this small, simple book lay control over their collective fate. In this world, nothing could be more absurd. This Beast Compendium once belonged to the Heavenly Court, Elder Zhuoqiu explained. I stole it from them. It has been in my possession for hundreds of thousands of years, but it serves me no purpose. I'm giving it to you. As Su Zimo took the mirror, the old man continued, "For now, it hasn't yet been linked to the destinies of the 16 races. You'll need to seek them out one by one and forge that connection yourself. I believe it will be useful to you." Su Zimo flipped open the book. It was mostly blank, save for a few faint outlines of beasts. "Thank you," Su Zimo said, putting the mirror away. "I hope one day you can clear the fog before you and realize what your heart truly seeks," Elder Zhuoqiu said solemnly. Su Zimo and Xie Chonglu mounted Chaos once more and departed, heading back toward North River City. Elder Zhuoqiu stood in place, muttering something inaudible, before turning again to kneel before the great tree. "When we return to North River City," Su Zimo said, "I'll go to Sisan, and I don't want anyone interfering." "Don't worry. Leave that to me," Xie Chonglu replied. Chaos was much faster than their old airship. In just 10 days, the hazy outline of North River City came into view. As they approached the gates, Su Zimo noticed a wanted poster plastered on the wall. It was issued by Grand Mist Mountain, still hunting him for the death of the Mist Prime Emperor. They apparently didn't yet know he had gone to the Azure Frontier, so their bounty remained active across the 4 domains. "Isn't that the man on the wanted poster?" Someone at the city gate whispered in shock. But before the words spread further, a companion grabbed the speaker and dragged him away. "Are you insane? He killed an emperor. Do you want to die?" Once inside North River City, Su Zimo moved through the streets with the familiarity of someone who knew his way around. He knew it wouldn't be long before Grand Mist Mountain spies learned he had returned. North River City, Heaven District. Su Zimo arrived before Unfinished Palace. Xie Chonglu remained at the entrance, standing guard, while Su Zimo stepped quietly inside. Nothing had changed. The ruins stood as they always had, and only one grand hall remained intact. "Follow the cycles of the heavens, and act according to the Tao," came a faint, murmured voice from within the hall. It was the old man, San. As Su Zimo entered, the old man opened his clouded eyes and slowly rose from the meditation mat beneath him. "You've come again," the old man said. "I have something to ask you," Su Zimo replied. "If it doesn't defy the heavenly Tao, I may help," the old man said. "I want to enter the land of exile of the primordial demon cave," Su Zimo said. "Do you know a way to break through the spatial wall?" "Your obsession runs too deep," the old man said, shaking his head. "If you'd only let go of some things, you would gain much more, far more than you have now." "If I let go," Su Zimo smiled, "then I wouldn't be myself." "I can tell you," the old man said quietly, "but you will not succeed." "You don't know until you try," Su Zimo replied. Just then, a thunderous sound erupted outside. A voice boomed like rolling thunder. "Su Zimo, get out here." A surge of power streaked across the heavens like rainbows, filling the entire sky with blinding force. Grand Mist Mountain's response was faster than I expected, Su Zimo said, amused. But with Xie Chonglu standing guard outside, he wasn't too worried. Turning back to the old man, he said, "I'm the sort who, once I hit a wall, will keep bashing my head against it until it breaks. So if you're willing to tell me, I'll be grateful." "There's no such thing as true invincibility," the old man said. "Even the heavenly Tao only claims to control all things. In truth, countless uncertainties lie beneath it. If you want to enter the land of exile," he continued, "you must shatter the barrier between the 9 heavens." "That's right," Su Zimo nodded. "But the 9 heavens are a great world. Even a saint sovereign can't pierce that barrier. The reason it cannot be broken," the old man said, "is simple, insufficient power. Do you know what the most powerful law in the 9 heavens is? The 10 divine laws?" Su Zimo guessed. "In a sense, yes," the old man nodded. "The 10 divine laws are indeed the mightiest Tao accessible to mortals. How much do you know of the 9 heavens history?" "From the new era to the ancient age, a little," Su Zimo said. "In the ancient age," the old man began solemnly, "the ancient gods reigned supreme. They plucked stars from the sky, stepped across the seas and the 8 wildernesses. Each of them sought the Tao and attained their own understanding of it. All the Taoist arts of later generations trace back to what the ancient gods once created. There were 9 ancient gods in total, and from them came the 9 heavens. Each left behind one of the 9 divine secrets. The 9 divine secrets, Su Zimo murmured. If you can gather all 9 and merge them into one, the old man said, you'll have the power to break the barrier of the 9 heavens and enter the land of exile. But the danger and difficulty of doing so, you must weigh for yourself. Life's only interesting when it's full of challenges, Su Zimo said with a grin. Otherwise, what's the point? In your case, I'll make an exception, the old man Sen said. I can tell you where one of the ancient gods' secret arts is hidden. Of the 9 divine secrets, 1, the path of fire, lies in the North Sea. The North Sea. Su Zimo was taken aback, then quickly realized something. That was where the dragon maiden he sought resided. As for the others, the old man waved his hand dismissively. You'll have to rely on your own luck. Now go. You've disturbed my rest long enough. The unfinished palace has been peaceful for so many years. I hope it stays that way forever. I'll owe you one, Su Zimo said as he turned to leave the hall. The old man watched him go, then turned his eyes aside, murmuring softly, born of the same root, and sighed. Outside unfinished palace. The air trembled with immense pressure. 3 figures hovered above the heavens. On the left stood Li Shiran, the current master of Grand Mist Mountain. On the right was a young boy holding a sword, his expression solemn, a long braid hanging down his back. Between them stood a youth radiating imperial might. He looked no older than his mid-teens, yet his gaze carried an unnaturally mature calm. The force of an emperor rolled through the sky, clouds gathering thickly above him. Winds howled and cyclones burst under his feet. Su Zimo, come out and die, Li Shiran roared with fury. If he won't, why not storm the palace and seize him ourselves? The young boy suggested. This is unfinished palace. We cannot, Li Shiran quickly cautioned. It's just a ruined temple, what's there to fear? The boy asked, puzzled. The youth in the middle, though young, spoke with a voice ancient and weary. Child, you've cultivated in seclusion with me since birth. You know little of the world outside, he said calmly. Unfinished palace is the forbidden ground of North River City. No one enters, no one defile it. Remember my words. Yes, master. The boy nodded hurriedly. But what if he hides inside forever? Won't the vengeance for Uncle Mist Prime Emperor go unfulfilled? Unfinished palace will never let anyone linger within, the youth said confidently. Just wait. How's the situation? Su Zimo asked as he stepped out of the main hall and saw Xie Chonglu still guarding the palace gates. There are 3 of them. They've been waiting for us up there the whole time, Xie replied. Su Zimo glanced upward. The boy didn't even register as a threat, he skipped straight past him. 1 each, what do you say? Su Zimo smiled. Xie Chonglu nodded silently. The 2 rose into the sky, standing opposite the 3 intruders. You finally came out, Li Shiran sneered. I thought you planned to hide like a coward forever. Seems Grand Mist Mountain is eager for its own funeral, Su Zimo replied evenly. You killed the Mist Prime Emperor, said the young man between them, the supreme unity paragon, his tone calm but carrying infinite authority. If you surrender now and follow us back to Grand Mist Mountain to accept judgment, I'll grant you a whole corpse. Otherwise, today will be the day your emperor's fate ends. No point in wasting words, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. His aura exploded outward, his imperial will surging like a tidal wave, colliding fiercely with that of his foes. Fight! Xie Chonglu shouted first, rushing straight at Li Shiran. His sword intent tore through the sky, shattering the very air. Explosions thundered through the heavens like a storm. Below in North River City, countless onlookers scattered to avoid the shockwaves, whispering among themselves. Who's that young man with Grand Mist Mountain? Never seen him before. Yeah, isn't Su Zimo the one who killed the Mist Prime Emperor? They still dare challenge him? Some, however, recognized the names and whispered with understanding. You don't get it. The true ancestor of Grand Mist Mountain, the senior brother of the Mist Prime Emperor himself, is the Supreme Unity Paragon. They say the Mist Prime Emperor's ascension to emperorhood owed much to Supreme Unity Paragon's guidance. No doubt he's here for revenge. Believe me, Supreme Unity Paragon said calmly, your death will be ugly. The divine aura around him grew heavier, imperial energy swirling into a storm. His true fate manifested, a divine spirit's phantom hovering behind him. Su Zimo didn't recognize the deity, but its power was immense. A unique current of supreme unity energy flowed around it, its eyes glowing with divine light that seemed to pierce and erase all things. Let's see if you've got what it takes, Su Zimo said, slowly drawing his blade Shadow Tyrant, a faint smile playing on his lips. What if you add me to the fight? A thunderous voice suddenly boomed from the distance. A massive black hand ripped open the heavens, tearing through the void as a spatial gate formed midair. Out stepped an old man in a black robe, more beast than man. His cloak looked like the pelt of some monstrous creature. His hands were clawed, his skin covered in coarse black fur, and his face resembled that of a bear, fierce, primal, wild. He was like a humanoid beast. His arrival sent the entire North River City into an uproar. That's the Elder Fiend. Why is he here? Could Grand Mist Mountain have allied with Fiend Mountain? No wonder they're so confident. I heard Fiend Mountain was destroyed not long ago. Don't tell me Su Zimo was the one who did it. The crowd's murmurs rose into a roar of speculation. I've been searching for you for a long time, the Elder Fiend said darkly, glaring at Su Zimo. You destroyed my mountain. You killed my disciple. You've got quite the nerve. I'm too lazy to explain, Su Zimo said with a shrug. Since you're all here, let's settle this once and for all. Kill! The Elder Fiend bellowed. He thrust out his right hand, power surging as beastly roars filled the sky, pressing down upon Su Zimo like a collapsing world. Su Zimo raised Shadow Tyrant, its edge flashing. Sparks flew as their powers collided, the shockwaves scattering the clouds. Both men staggered a step back. Su Zimo's body glowed faintly with the power of the war god. Supreme Unity Indestructible Palm, shouted the Supreme Unity Paragon, seizing the moment to strike. Behind him, his divine spirit bent low, crackling with thunder. Lightning crackled as the palm strike condensed into a tornado of divine power. The energy of supreme unity gathered into an immense spectral hand descending from the heavens. With a deafening boom, the air caved inward, leaving a massive five-fingered crater in the void. Su Zimo's figure vanished. He's behind you, the Elder Fiend barked. He flicked his clawed fingers, drawing in a torrent of spiritual energy that swallowed the air itself. An explosion burst behind the Supreme Unity Paragon, throwing Su Zimo's figure out of the blast. Trap him first, the Elder Fiend commanded. The Supreme Unity Paragon nodded slightly. He waved his hand, and the divine spirit behind him mimicked the motion. Supreme Unity Dragon Sigil. The spirit transformed into a stream of radiant light, taking the form of a glowing rune, and shot toward Su Zimo like lightning. The dragon talisman was not a true dragon, but rather a rune, a talisman inscribed with divine symbols. Golden light flickered across its surface, radiating a magnificent aura. It shone with dazzling brilliance, its sound piercingly sharp, like a streak of golden light splitting the heavens as it shot toward Su Zimo. Heaven and earth are bound by the primordial order, and among them, supreme unity reigns supreme. Dragon talisman, suppress, Supreme Unity Paragon shouted. Thunderous roars erupted across the sky. Su Zimo looked up, swinging his blade Shadow Tyrant toward the dragon talisman. Yet the strike sliced through empty air. The talisman vanished, winding like a coiled dragon. Its twisting, root-like form encircled him from top to bottom, trapping him within. Seeing Su Zimo ensnared, the Elder Fiend stepped through the air, beastly might surging from his body. His massive bear-like palm came crashing down, carrying suffocating pressure and a deafening roar. The enormous strike collided with Supreme Unity Paragon's own force. A detonation like none before shattered the void. Boom! It was as though the entire heavens had collapsed, the world breaking apart under the impact. The shockwave left even distant observers trembling. When the rolling explosions finally settled, Supreme Unity Paragon and the Elder Fiend had flanked Su Zimo on both sides, sealing his retreat. As the ruptured void began to heal, Su Zimo's figure emerged once more. His long black hair flowed wildly, though no wind stirred. His entire body floated in midair, wrapped in surging demonic energy. The fusion of the infernal heart with the hell-suppressing demon physique erupted fully. Endless demonic aura rolled out, threatening to devour even the sky. Dark clouds of demonic mist swirled in the distant heavens, and something within them seemed to roar and struggle to break free. At that moment, he was like a demon god descended. Supreme Unity Paragon frowned slightly. Such intense demonic energy. Could he be from the god-fiend abyss heaven? Be careful, the Elder Fiend said gravely. This one's not simple. Su Zimo slowly rose higher, demonic energy churning within his eyes. He lifted his right hand, and a torrent of magic burst forth, sharp and bloodthirsty. The 10 forms of demon. First form, Realm Demon. He who sees gods in the illusion of unbound realms. At his words, space itself began to distort. Before Supreme Unity Paragon and the Elder Fiend, reality twisted like reflections in rippling water. From the mirrored space emerged 2 identical figures, perfect copies of Supreme Unity Paragon and the Elder Fiend themselves. This was the form of the Realm Demon, the ultimate expression of spatial mastery. It was one of the 10 forms of demon handed down by the previous Infernal Lord, each form containing a unique power and purpose. The 2 enemies exchanged wary glances, and in the mirrored realm, their reflections mimicked every motion precisely. Petty tricks, Elder Fiend snorted. You think a little illusion can deceive us? He stepped forward and clenched his bear-like fist, punching hard at his own reflection. A thunderous boom followed. Both the real and mirrored bodies were thrown backward simultaneously, even their postures identical as they fell. This isn't an illusion? Elder Fiend gasped, eyes wide. Then let's see how you handle this. Supreme Unity Paragon raised his right hand. The divine phantom behind him transformed once again into the Dragon Talisman, which descended toward the 2 mirrored figures. But the mirrored Supreme Unity Paragon mirrored him too, summoning an identical talisman. The 2 dragon talismans collided midair, shattering in a storm of divine light. The divine phantom re-entered Supreme Unity Paragon's body, and he staggered, coughing up blood. This is impossible, he muttered, shaken. Su Zimo smiled faintly. The form of the Realm Demon was a supreme art of spatial law, and since he had already grasped numerous elemental truths, including that of space itself, his control over this form was effortless. This spatial mirage of yours is strong, Elder Fiend said coolly, but it has a weakness. The reflections only copy our movements. If we stop attacking, they can do nothing. That's true, Su Zimo replied with a grin. But since you came here seeking revenge, I suppose I'll take my leave. Bye-bye. Wait, Supreme Unity Paragon shouted quickly. Dismiss this illusionary space and face us in a fair fight. Otherwise, wherever you go, we'll follow. Sooner or later, we'll kill you. You're threatening me? Su Zimo smiled. You could say that, Elder Fiend replied coldly. It seems, Su Zimo said softly, that some people can't wait to die. He waved his hand, and the warped illusionary void collapsed and faded away. Kill him. The moment the illusion vanished, the 2 opponents lunged simultaneously, launching twin torrents of energy that sealed off Su Zimo's escape from both sides. Su Zimo merely shook his head with a faint, amused smile. Then he spoke calmly. The 10 forms of demon, the 4th celestial demon, he who challenges the will of heaven. As his words echoed, thunder rolled through the skies. The so-called trial of heaven was in truth a false heavenly law, but even a false law of heaven was far from anything mortal could endure. Lightning and divine rhythm danced through the air. Gray thunderbolts converged overhead, condensing into two vast torrents of lightning. With a pair of earth-shattering crashes, the torrents struck down, engulfing Supreme Unity Paragon and the Elder Fiend. The sky split apart, and the storm of thunder poured down in sheets, a relentless tempest of divine wrath. Su Zimo guided the lightning with both hands, controlling the heavenly punishment that left his enemies nowhere to hide. Supreme Unity Paragon's divine phantom tried to shield him, but this was no ordinary lightning. It was the thunder of heaven itself. Bolt after bolt rained down, tearing the divine phantom apart, stripping its divinity to nothing as Supreme Unity Paragon screamed in agony. "Elder Fiend, help me!" he cried. He tried to flee, but the entire sky above North River City was shrouded in lightning. The Elder Fiend fared somewhat better. As the thunder fell, his body expanded dozens of times over until he resembled an ancient, primordial bear. With a thunderous roar, he beat his chest like a wild beast, his fury shaking the air. Everyone knew that the Elder Fiend was not human, but few knew what his true form was, or had ever seen it before. Now, seeing his real body, the crowd below gasped in shock. "That's a roaring beast," someone exclaimed. And what was a roaring beast? Its name was infamous across the ancient world. It was one of the lower 8 beast races. The Beast Compendium described it thus: "The roaring beast resembles an ape with long arms, skilled in throwing stones. Though monkey-like, it has existed since the primordial era." The roaring beast race had once endured a catastrophic calamity in antiquity, and those who survived became beings of extraordinary might, each one a sacred entity. Thus, the roaring beast race was listed among the lower 8 beast races, commanding all beasts beneath heaven. None dared defy them. "Elder Fiend is a roaring beast?" someone whispered in disbelief. "Isn't every roaring beast supposed to be at least a saint sovereign? How can he only be at the 5th stage of the Grand Emperor realm?" "There must be more to the story," another murmured. "Otherwise, why would such a creature leave the azure mystic heaven to walk among us mortals?" The crowd below was in an uproar. The appearance of one of the lower 8 beast races was too shocking. Ordinary people could live their entire lives without ever seeing any of the 16 beast races. How could they not be thrilled? Su Zimo was stunned for a moment, then quickly understood. He had only recently obtained the Beast Compendium, and now one of the lower 8 beast races had come right to his doorstep. Truly, what one seeks tirelessly may appear by pure chance. The Elder Fiend roared under the rain of thunder. Rather than fear, his aura grew even more violent. His earth-shaking howls seemed to challenge the heavens themselves. As lightning struck his body, his black fur turned gradually crimson. The blood-red fur blazed like fire, wild and ferocious. His eyes were also scarlet, and his 2 arms stretched tens of meters long. With a furious leap, he charged toward Su Zimo. Each jump shattered the void and tore apart the heavens. Boom! A massive fist, blazing with divine might, smashed toward Su Zimo. The oppressive force crushed the air, sending chaotic streams of energy scattering in every direction. Su Zimo raised his blade to block, but an overwhelming force slammed into him, blasting him backward through the sky. Elder Fiend's killing intent was sharp as a blade. He gave Su Zimo no time to recover. As Su Zimo tumbled through the air, the demon leapt again, his massive right fist raised high. Boom! This time, the blow came from above, smashing Su Zimo down from the heavens. Like a falling meteor, his body crashed into the ground, creating a massive crater. Buildings collapsed, dust filled the air, and nearby onlookers scrambled to flee. The Elder Fiend descended like a cannonball, landing with a thunderous boom on the crater. His feet sank deep into the earth, leaving 2 huge imprints. With a crazed roar, he began hammering his fists into the pit, one after another, raining blows down like a torrential storm. Each punch was as heavy as a mountain, striking with the weight of 10,000 tons. The once flat ground caved in, forming a dark abyss. Still, the Elder Fiend refused to stop, panting heavily, each strike fiercer than the last. No wonder he's called the Elder Fiend. Such brutality. That young man must have been smashed into paste by now. Paste? I'd say he's been obliterated, body and soul. The crowd whispered among themselves, shocked by the beast's ferocity. Then, just as another punch was about to land, a giant hand suddenly reached up from beneath the ground and caught his fist. Before the Elder Fiend could react, the hand tightened its grip and flung him through the air. Heaven-Earth Dharma Codex. Su Zimo rose from the crater like a towering giant. Around him spun the Heaven Unity 3 gates. Behind him loomed a colossal phantom. Within his body, the god-demon creation Atlas surged with power. 4 of the 10 primordial god scriptures erupted at once. The pressure was indescribable. With a single step, he crossed the void, appearing before the Elder Fiend. He punched. The blow slammed into the demon's chest with crushing force. The chest caved in completely, blood pouring out in thick streams. The Elder Fiend roared in rage and pain, struggling to fight back with both fists, but now he was nothing more than a toy in Su Zimo's hands. Blow after blow rained down upon him, each strike echoing like thunder. Shadow Tyrant spun through the air, its blade aura erupting in waves. The Elder Fiend collapsed to the ground. Su Zimo stepped on his head. Overhead, lightning still poured down. Supreme Unity Paragon's body was almost unrecognizable as he screamed beneath the divine thunder. "Let me go!" gasped the Elder Fiend. "I am of the roaring beast race. You wouldn't dare kill me." "Oh? Then what am I doing right now?" Su Zimo asked calmly. "If you kill me, you'll make enemies of the entire beast race," the Elder Fiend snarled. "In this world, there will be no place left for you." Su Zimo shook his head and raised his hand. A black book appeared before him, the Beast Compendium. Thick demonic energy swirled around it as it floated in front of him. What is that?" the Elder Fiend stammered, eyes wide with fear. That small book filled him with dread, as if it was the natural bane of all demons. "Have you heard of the Beast Compendium?" Su Zimo asked. "What is that?" Elder Fiend frowned. "If you don't know, then I won't bother explaining," Su Zimo replied. "The roaring beasts belong to the Azure Mystic Heaven. Why are you here in the Mortal Ascension Heaven? Who told you that beasts only live in the Azure Mystic Heaven?" the Elder Fiend growled. "The 9 heavens are vast. There are realms ruled by our kind everywhere, not just one." "Then tell me," Su Zimo asked, "where are the other beast races?" "I know nothing," the Elder Fiend said defiantly. "But know this, the 16 beast races stand united. Kill even one, and you make enemies of us all." "If that's how it is, so be it," Su Zimo said coldly. "I've defied the great Tao itself before. Why would I fear your beast races?" He opened the Beast Compendium to its first page. Sensing something, the book glowed with black light, shining down upon the roaring beast. The Elder Fiend froze as if something was being pulled from his body. "What are you doing to me?" he roared, struggling in terror. "Collecting you," Su Zimo said simply. The book's glow intensified. The Elder Fiend's gigantic body shrank rapidly, compressed into a beam of light that shot into the book. At that same moment, lightning struck again. Supreme Unity Paragon was completely consumed by divine thunder, reduced to ash. Su Zimo glanced down at the book in his hands. On the once blank first page, a colorful image now appeared, that of the roaring beast, along with text describing its nature and origin. Nearby, Xie Changliu's sword aura raged through the sky. Countless blades pierced Li Shuran, the mountain lord of Grand Mist Mountain, leaving him riddled with holes. The onlookers were stunned. They all knew that from this day forward, Grand Mist Mountain had fallen. 2 grand emperors dead, their mountain lord gone, and the Fiend Mountain, too, was finished. Su Zimo closed the Beast Compendium and put it away. Far away, within the distant Azure Mystic Heaven, This was the heartland of the beast race. Though other races existed here, the 16 beast races ruled supreme. Within the territory of one of the lower 8 beast races, the Golden Rocks, lay an ancient mountain range. Countless skeletal remains of rocks littered the peaks, and towering statues stood solemnly among them. High atop the mountain, a golden rock perched, its gaze fixed on the distant heavens. The golden rock gazed solemnly toward the heavens. The night sky was clear and vast. No clouds, no moonlight, only a few faint stars flickering in the southeast. A gust of wind swept through as another golden rock descended from the sky. Its feathers were sharp as blades, its entire body gleaming gold, and its eyes like twin daggers, cold and piercing. "Ancestor, what has happened?" The newly arrived rock asked respectfully. "I observed the heavens tonight," said the elder on the mountaintop. "The demon star in the east has dimmed. The fortune of our demon race has weakened once again. Go and investigate what has occurred within the 9 heavens." "We've been monitoring the 9 heavens closely, but nothing major has happened," the younger rock replied, puzzled. "If the demon star has darkened, then either something grave has befallen our kind, or there's trouble among the 16 beast races," the elder said calmly. "Go confirm it once more." "Yes, ancestor." The younger rock bowed, spreading his golden wings. A flash of light, and the valley fell silent once more. "Do you know of North Sea?" Su Zimo asked Xie Chonglu. "Of course," Xie replied. "Among the 9 heavens are the 18 great seas. The North Sea is one of the greatest, ranking in the top 3. It stretches eastward to the 4 domains, westward to the Lion's Dominion, south to Heavenly Bay, and north to North Sea City. In the entire mortal ascension heaven, who hasn't heard of the North Sea? We're heading there next, aren't we?" Xie guessed. Su Zimo nodded slightly. "Then let's go." "It's been ages since I last visited," Xie said with a faint smile. North Sea City lay at the border between the Azure Frontier and 4 domains, spanning both territories. One could reach it from either side. But Su Zimo's purpose this time was twofold: to find the Dragon Maiden and ask her help in fusing the Grand Pivot Godsword, and to seek the 9 ancient gods' path of fire. Their destination, North Sea City, the only city acknowledged by the sea itself. Because North River City was one of Azure Frontier's great cities, its teleportation arrays connected to nearly half the domain. From there, they could teleport directly to North Sea City, far more convenient than traveling by conventional means. As Su Zimo and Xie Chonglu made their way through the city, they drew countless stares. After all, the battle they had just fought was still fresh in everyone's minds. The teleportation array in North River City was operated by a family known as the Wang clan, and using it required payment. The two stepped into the array, and the world around them began to spin. Chaotic streams of space energy swirled nearby. During teleportation, one had to remain perfectly still. Even the slightest movement could disrupt the spatial coordinates. Though they were traveling via space transmission, the distance between North River and North Sea City was immense. Even through the array, their journey took over 2 full months before they finally arrived at North Sea City. That was longer than Su Zimo had expected. When the void before them shattered and light reappeared, they found themselves standing upon the earth of North Sea City. "All new arrivals, change your clothes," came the shout of a city guard. The teleportation array of North Sea City was built outside its gates. Dozens of travelers had arrived alongside Su Zimo and Xie Chonglu, all stepping out of the arrays. Raising his head, Su Zimo saw a vast city before him, one that shimmered like glass. Calling it a glass city might have been an exaggeration, but every structure, the walls, towers, and streets, was built from a transparent, crystalline substance. When sunlight struck it, light refracted in countless directions, creating a dazzling, dreamlike effect. It was a city like no other. No bricks, no stone, only that strange glass-like crystal. "This is mystic ice," Xie Chonglu explained with a grin. "Impressive, isn't it? Takes your breath away the first time you see it." It's said that long ago, the Dragon Maiden had a dream. In her dream, she saw a city of ice rising along the shores of North Sea City, magnificent and ethereal. When she awoke, she decided to build it for real, naming it North Sea City. But ordinary ice melted under the sun, so the dream seemed impossible. Then she discovered mystic ice crystals deep within the Northern Sea. Ice that never melts, immune to blade, fire, or water. With it, she built this city that stands eternal. Not bad, Suzumo said, his gaze moving from the glittering walls to the guards ahead. 2 sentries stood there, clad in armor seemingly sculpted from ice itself. Their armor gleamed like frozen water. If they didn't move, one could mistake them for statues. Between them was a pile of folded robes, stacked high like a small hill. The garments were long robes of black and white, simple yet dignified. The guards themselves wore these robes over their armor. Every traveler entering the city received one and had to put it on before proceeding. What's going on? Suzumo asked curiously. These robes? Xie Chonglu frowned slightly, as if remembering something. He quickly stopped a passerby. Brother, what day is it today? September 9th, the Heroes' Memorial Day. Don't tell me you didn't know? The man replied, surprised. Xie Chonglu immediately understood and turned to Suzumo. Come on, let's get our robes. I'll explain as we go. Though still confused, Suzumo nodded. After receiving their black and white robes and putting them on, they entered the city together. In the history of the 9 heavens, Xie explained, there once lived a great hero, said that 30 million years ago, darkness engulfed the world. The demon sovereign ruled all, seeking to destroy creation and enslave all beings. At that time, the great hero Yan Ingzhou rose up. He slew the demon sovereign, dispelled the darkness, and restored peace to the world. That day was September 9th, the day forever remembered as the Heroes' Memorial Day. Every year since, all across the 9 heavens, people wear black and white robes, the very colors of Yan Ingzhou's battle garb, to honor him. And on this day, all combat is forbidden. The 9 heavens remain at peace, if only for this one day. Xie Chonglu chuckled. After 2 months in transit, I completely forgot the date. Yan Ingzhou, Suzumo murmured. This festival has lasted 30 million years? He asked. That's right, Xie nodded. Neither the heavenly court nor any other ruling power dares to defy it. The two, dressed in their ceremonial robes, stepped into North Sea City. It was still as lively as ever, no less grand than North River City. Because it lay beside the sea, everything here carried the flavor of the ocean. Crowds filled the streets. Puppet shows told tales of Yan Ingzhou's battle against the demon sovereign, while gongs and drums thundered for the celebration. Do you know where we can find the Dragon Maiden? Suzumo asked. Not today, Xie Chonglu replied. We'll have to wait until the Heroes' Memorial Day is over. Then we can ask the City Lord. The Dragon Maiden should be living within the North Sea itself, not inside the city. But since the North Sea City Lord was appointed by her, he should have a way to contact her. As they spoke, someone up ahead started shouting. Today is the Heroes' Memorial Day. All guests dining or lodging at my establishment are free of charge. Everyone, come take a look. A familiar voice teased. Shopkeeper, aren't you afraid you'll go bankrupt? You don't understand, the shopkeeper said cheerfully. This isn't my generosity. It's all being paid for by young Master Bei. Which young Master Bei? Someone new to the city asked curiously. Ha! In North Sea City, how many people even have the surname Bei? Of course, it's the young city lord himself, another person explained. Shall we go in and take a look? Xie Chonglu said to Suzumo. Since it's the young city lord, it might be worth meeting him. This place sure is lively, Suzumo said, looking around. Not just here, Xie Chonglu replied with a grin. Across the entire 9 heavens, today is a day of celebration. They walked into the restaurant, which was enormous. Built from ice crystal, it felt like stepping into a palace of snow, though curiously, there was no sense of cold at all. Even the tables were made from black ice. Shopkeeper, where's young Master Bei? Xie Chonglu asked upon entering. Young Master Bei is on the 3rd floor, entertaining the prodigies, the shopkeeper said with a smile. But not everyone can go up to the 3rd floor. Oh, Xie Chonglu raised a brow. And why's that? Young Master Bei set up the Monument of Strength on the 2nd floor, the shopkeeper explained. There are 10 levels on the monument. Only those who surpass 7 are qualified to go to the 3rd floor. Interested in trying, gentlemen? Let's try it, Su Zimo said. Excellent. A small fee of 20 spirit crystals each, the shopkeeper said gleefully. What? You're charging for this? Xie Chonglu said, frowning. Of course, the shopkeeper said smoothly. Otherwise, everyone would want to try. My little place would be overcrowded in no time. It's just a filter for the unworthy. Surely, 2 young masters like yourselves won't mind such a small fee. Su Zimo smiled. The man was clever. Declaring free food and lodging drew crowds, and now this little trick ensured he'd earn plenty regardless. Both he and the so-called young Master Bei would benefit handsomely. But that wasn't Su Zimo's concern. Xie Chonglu tossed over the spirit crystals, and they headed upstairs. Compared to the 1st floor, the 2nd was 4 or 5 times larger. It was packed wall to wall with people, stretching in a long line. How long is this going to take? Xie Chonglu muttered. One monument can test if someone's a prodigy. I imagine plenty of people want to try, Su Zimo said. Even those with no interest in meeting young Master Bei probably want to see if they qualify. The true prodigies are probably already inside, Xie Chonglu said. This monument is just bait. He had no patience for waiting, so he handed a few hundred spirit crystals to someone near the front and cut in line. Su Zimo examined the stone monument before him. It did indeed possess unique qualities. Ripples of energy flowed across its surface, with 10 marks carved along one side. Most people barely reached 5 or 6 marks. Few could exceed 7. It wasn't easy. Xie Chonglu raised his hand, channeling sword intent into his palm, and struck. A booming clang echoed as the monument vibrated, the marks shooting straight to 10. Anyone above the Paragon Meridian realm can pass, Xie Chonglu said calmly, having gauged its limits in one strike. Su Zimo followed with a punch. With a thunderous crack, the stone shattered into 4 pieces. The 2 young attendants nearby froze in shock. We can go in now, right? Su Zimo asked casually. Why yes, you may, one of them stammered. Following the staircase behind them, Su Zimo and Xie Chonglu ascended to the 3rd floor. What do you know about the Dragon Maiden? Su Zimo asked as they walked. There's little information about her, Xie Chonglu admitted. She's shrouded in mystery. Few have even seen her face. Then it seems this won't be easy, Su Zimo said with a small smile. As they stepped into the 3rd floor, Su Zimo immediately sensed something off. The space had been expanded with a spatial formation. From the outside, the restaurant's upper floor was just a few hundred square meters. But inside the array, the space stretched for thousands. At the center lay a crystal-clear lake shimmering with faint green light, lotus blossoms drifting on the surface. Around it stood willows and elegant pavilions. Gentle music from zither players mingled with laughter, fine wine, and fragrant fruit. A scene of effortless leisure. Scattered throughout the pavilions were groups of young men and women. Yet as soon as Su Zimo entered, his expression hardened. He could sense something foul. What is it? Xie Chonglu asked. You go find a seat over there. I'll join you shortly, Su Zimo said quietly. After parting from him, Su Zimo closed his eyes and concentrated. There it was again, a faint trace of demonic energy, pure and potent. Following the white jade path past the pavilions, he reached a row of houses. He studied them briefly, then entered the one in the center. It was clearly a woman's chamber, decorated in pink tones and carrying a faint, sweet fragrance. Master, it's the scent of that old ox, came Paimon's voice from within the god world. Old ox, Su Zimo repeated. One of the 18 infernal archons, Red Blade Bull Demon, 7-faced demon added immediately. There's no mistake. It's definitely him. I can sense the demonic aura, but not his exact location. Strange, Suzimo muttered, frowning. Don't move, a cool, clear voice suddenly said. A sword burst through the air behind him, its icy intent brushing the side of his neck. Suzimo didn't resist. He knew the blade couldn't harm him, and the wielder carried no killing intent. Who are you? The voice demanded. The owner of the sword stepped from the void, a young woman dressed in white robes, her face veiled. Her eyes were clear as spring water, bright and alert. Two small, ivory-colored dragon horns curved atop her head, lending her an almost adorable air. Who are you? The woman's cold voice matched the chill of the blade at Suzimo's neck. Suzimo turned around with a smile. I told you not to move, the woman warned sharply, her sword steady. I'm here looking for something, Suzimo said calmly. This is my room. What could you possibly have here? She scoffed. You'd better explain yourself honestly, or my sword won't show mercy. Suzimo flicked his finger lightly. A wave of force rippled down the blade, and the sword vibrated violently. The shock made her hand go numb. Forcing her to release it, the sword clattered to the floor. You're still young, Suzimo said mildly. Best not to play with blades. Ignoring her glare, he began to walk around the room, looking carefully at every corner. What exactly are you looking for? The woman asked, following him now that she realized he meant no harm. Suzimo scanned the place for a while longer but still found no source of demonic energy. Then he turned suddenly toward her. Startled, she stepped back several paces. Give me your storage ring, Suzimo said. Why should I? No, she snapped, turning her hand protectively aside. Suzimo chuckled. With a small gesture, the sword from the floor flew up and leveled at her throat once again. Will you give it to me, or shall I take it? I don't believe you'd actually kill me, she retorted stubbornly. The sword pressed closer. Thin red lines appeared on her skin. You're insane. Fine, take it, she cried, alarmed, quickly pulling off her storage ring and tossing it over. Suzimo caught it and examined it leisurely. Do you always talk to people while hiding your face? My master says it's unsafe outside, she said defensively. So yes, I always cover it. If you want to see my face, you can beg me. Your master is the Dragon Maiden, isn't she? Suzimo asked suddenly. What? I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered, her voice slightly panicked. Those two dragon horns on your head, Suzimo said. At first I thought you might be the Dragon Maiden yourself, but your cultivation isn't strong enough. That means your master must be her. What kind of logic is that? Just because someone has dragon horns doesn't mean they're related to the Dragon Maiden. By your reasoning, every dragon in the world would be her, she shot back. You don't have to admit it, Suzimo said calmly. I was going to find your master anyway. Why are you looking for her? The woman asked curiously. To have her forge a weapon for me, Suzimo answered. Forget it, she said with a huff. My the Dragon Maiden doesn't forge anymore. And even if she did, you're not related to her. Why would she help you? Because I'm handsome, Suzimo said with a grin. As he spoke, he pulled something from her storage ring. A bull's horn. It was a horn radiating thick demonic energy. The horn had 7 ridges, wreathed in swirling black mist. If one listened carefully, faint echoes of a bull's roar could be heard. Even a single horn carried such monstrous killing aura that the entire room grew heavy with its presence. Suzimo put it away, his brows knitting. Talk. Talk about what? She asked warily. Where did this come from? He demanded. I found it, she said quickly. What, are you going to control that too? I'm not joking, Suzimo said, his tone calm but sharp. If you lie to me, you'll regret it. I'm not lying, she replied. In the North Sea, there's a place called the Pool of Demon Transformation. I passed by it once and found it there by chance. The Pool of Demon Transformation? Suzimo said. Take me there. After I attend this banquet, she said. Besides, not just anyone can enter the North Sea. You'll need my master's permission first. I'll wait for you at the inn after the banquet, Suzumo said. And don't bother trying to run. I haven't done anything wrong. Why would I run? She said stubbornly. Only after Suzumo left did her expression change. She waved her hand, summoning a small water elemental spirit. It looked like a translucent, oval-shaped creature, adorable and shimmering. Go report to Master. Someone may be plotting against the North Sea. The water sprite chirped twice, then turned into mist and vanished. Where did you go? Xie Chonglu asked when Suzumo returned to the pavilion. Just wandered around, Suzumo replied with a smile. Let me introduce someone. This is Brother Wei, Xie said, pointing to a young man beside him. Wei Zhen, the youth said with a nod. Suzumo, Su replied politely. What do you think young Master Bei is planning? Gathering us all here on the day of Yaningzhou's commemoration. Wei Zhen mused aloud. It's clearly about the city lord's seat, came a voice from behind them. They turned to see a man in long robes approach and sit down beside them. Ah, Brother Chongqing, Wei Zhen greeted. Chongqing nodded politely to the group and sat. So, Brother Chongqing, it seems you know something? Wei Zhen asked. It's common knowledge, really, Chongqing said. You're just not often in North Sea City, so you haven't heard. The current city lord is gravely ill. The lord's mansion is leaderless. He has 2 sons. The elder, Bei Xiao, and the younger, Bei Qinghai. Then this gathering must be Bei Xiao trying to win support, Wei Zhen realized. But the city lord isn't dead yet. Isn't that premature? Hanging on by a single breath, Chongqing said with a smirk. May as well be dead. If he doesn't rally support now, when will he? Would the Dragon Maiden even approve of this? Wei Zhen asked. The city lord's position has always been decided by the Dragon Maiden, Chongqing replied. But I think she prefers seeing competition. It's the way of the capable to rule. Have you chosen a side yet? He asked the group. From how much you've said, Brother Chongqing, I assume you already have, Xie Chonglu said with a chuckle. No need to hide it. I support the younger, Bei Qinghai, Chongqing said. I'm here to speak on his behalf. Then you'll have to find someone else, Xie said lightly. We're just here for a meal, not to join anyone's camp. Bei Xiao, the elder son, is here, Wei Zhen said suddenly. Everyone turned to look. From the end of the pavilion's path came a handsome man in white robes, holding a folding fan. A group of young elites surrounded him like stars around the moon as he strolled forward, smiling. As he passed, many others greeted him warmly. Gentlemen, your presence here today honors me greatly, he said with a polite bow and a charming smile. I, Bei Xiao, thank you all. You're too kind, young master, someone flattered with a laugh. We've admired you for a long time. We hope you'll take care of us in the future. Today, North Sea City has become a major power. Its every move affects the entire northern region, Bei Xiao said solemnly. My father worked tirelessly to build this city into what it is. As his eldest son, it's my duty to carry that legacy forward. He paused, then continued. My father's condition is grave. I won't hide it from you. Sooner or later, the position of city lord must be filled again. The city is in need of strong leadership and capable people. Tell me, would you all be willing to lend me your strength? A murmur spread through the crowd. Many had suspected as much, but hearing it directly still made them hesitate. Suzumo noticed the veiled woman from before standing beside Bei Xiao. They clearly knew each other. Oh, right, Bei Xiao said with a smile, pulling the woman forward. Allow me to introduce someone. This is Miss Meng Yu of the North Sea, my friend. Who is she? Never heard of her, someone muttered. Wait, Meng Yu? Isn't she the disciple the Dragon Maiden took in over 10 years ago? Another exclaimed as the memory surfaced. That event had caused quite a stir back then, but both the Dragon Maiden and her new disciple rarely appeared in public, so interest eventually faded. Could it be that the Dragon Maiden supports the elder son already? Someone whispered. Unlikely. If she'd taken a side, he wouldn't need to rally us. This must be Meng Yu's personal decision, another replied. As speculation grew, Bei Xiao raised his hand for silence. If you're willing to stand with me, he said firmly, I promise you won't regret it. Once I claim the city lord's seat, all of you will share in the glory. No sooner had he finished than a loud, confident laugh echoed across the courtyard. Brother, don't you think those words are a little premature? Bei Xiao's eyes narrowed. He turned toward the sound. Ripples appeared in the air as a young man in black robes stepped out of the void. His crimson cape fluttered behind him, his square-jawed face set with a bold, magnetic smile. What are you doing here? Bei Xiao asked coldly. I heard my dear brother was gathering talent, so I came to see for myself, Bei Qinghai said with a grin. Why? Am I not welcome? You're not. Bei Xiao snapped, the politeness gone. Bei Qinghai shook his head, still smiling, then looked at Meng Yu. Miss Meng Yu, standing too close to my brother might not be the wisest choice. What do you want? Bei Xiao's voice rose sharply. If you have nothing to say, leave. You're not welcome here. Father sent me to fetch you, Bei Qinghai replied casually. So don't be so quick to throw me out. Father, Bei Xiao frowned. What does he want with me? I don't know. You'll find out when you come with me, Bei Qinghai said. Before Bei Xiao could respond, the air rippled again. No need. I'm already here, came an aged voice. A formation of armored soldiers marched in, over 100 of them, clad in icy blue armor, their steps perfectly synchronized. In moments, they surrounded the entire third floor of the inn. What in the world? Someone whispered as unease spread through the crowd. The city lord approaches, a herald shouted. The soldiers split into two lines. Between them, an ornate golden litter appeared, shaped like a dragon fountain, gleaming with flowing gold light. Upon it lay a frail middle-aged man, his face pale, hair and beard white as snow. His breath came faintly, only in, not out. He wore a robe of glazed gold thread, its light dim but dignified. Greetings, city lord. Everyone quickly stood and bowed. Father, both Bei Xiao and Bei Qinghai said together, taking positions on either side of him. You're all hoping I'll die soon, the city lord said weakly, his voice hollow and weary. Father, you misunderstand, we would never, the two replied in alarm. I know, the old man said after coughing several times. Death comes for everyone, but I won't watch you two tear each other apart. He took a strained breath and went on. Before I die, I will choose the next city lord. Will abide by father's decision, the brothers said respectfully, heads bowed. Since childhood, you two have been at odds, the old man said. I've tried to prevent this outcome, but it seems fate won't be denied. So, let's settle it properly. He lifted a trembling hand. Each of you has gathered your own followers. Today, before everyone, I will act as referee. Each of you will choose 3 people to compete. The winner shall become city lord. Gasps filled the air. The meaning was clear. There would be no politics, no schemes. The title of city lord would be decided openly, by strength alone. What do you two say? The city lord asked. We agree, the brothers answered in unison. Then do you have your champions chosen? The city lord continued. Gong Clan's 3 brothers, Bei Qinghai said with confidence. A tear in the air opened, and 3 identical men stepped out. They were triplets, identical in face and form, their only difference being their clothing. I've already prepared, Bei Qinghai said. These 3 will fight on my behalf. What about you, brother? Pride gleamed in his eyes. The Gong brothers were renowned, one a master of the blade, another of the sword, the youngest of the fist. They were called the 3 Absolutes. 2 of them were at God Meridian Realm, while the youngest had already reached the path of immortality. They were undeniably formidable. Bei Xiao's eyes swept across the room. Who among you will fight for me? He called out. But hesitation spread. Before the Gong brothers had appeared, many might have considered it, but now, no one dared. The reputation of the Gong brothers was enough to intimidate most. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out. "Young master, the Misty Mountain twins are willing to fight for you." Two figures descended from the sky, feet treading on clouds and thunder. Lightning crackled around them as they landed, two young men with strange, fierce features. The Misty Mountain twins, both peak god meridian cultivators, someone whispered. Not ordinary opponents. Good. Bei Xiao laughed heartily. Is there anyone else? His gaze swept the crowd again, but most lowered their heads. Young master, the veiled woman Meng Yu said suddenly. I may have someone to recommend. Oh? Miss Meng knows another fighter. Bei Xiao asked, intrigued. Meng Yu glanced toward where Su Zimo was sitting. In a low voice, she said, if you can bring that man in, your chances of winning will rise by at least 50%. Bei Xiao's eyes narrowed slightly. 50% meaning out of 3 rounds that man could guarantee at least one victory. Miss Meng Yu, do you know him? Bei Xiao asked in surprise. Just go find him, Meng Yu replied, lowering her head and whispering a few words in his ear. Bei Xiao nodded slightly, then walked step by step towards Su Zimo. Fellow cultivator, would you be willing to compete on my behalf? Bei Xiao asked sincerely. Please don't refuse right away. Once I become city lord on the day of my investiture, when I travel to the North Sea, I will take you with me. How about it? She told you that, didn't she? Su Zimo glanced at Meng Yu and smiled faintly. Will you agree? Bei Xiao didn't answer the question, only repeated his own. All right, Su Zimo said, waving his hand casually. He needed to meet the Dragon Maiden and visit the Pool of Demon Transformation, both of which were far more important than this. Many thanks, Bei Xiao said, bowing with joy. Father, I've chosen my 3 participants. Why not start the match now? Very well, said the middle-aged man seated in the armchair, nodding lightly. Beside him, Bei Qinghai's expression grew solemn. Gong 1, you go first. Yes. Among the 3 Gong brothers, the eldest stepped forward immediately. His gaze swept across the crowd as he shouted, Who dares face me? I will. From among the 2 Qi brothers, the elder, Qi 1, stepped out. He held a folding fan, a red mark between his brows. His eyes were as sharp as drawn swords, and the spear on his back gleamed with cold silver light under the sun. Please, the 2 clasped fists in greeting. As soon as the words fell, spear intent and blade intent erupted at once. Qi Wen spun his spear in a full circle around him. The spearhead tore through space itself, flashing with killing light. Gong 1, wielding his twin cleavers, sent forth a gust of blade wind that became a storm of flashing edges. Blade and spear clashed, sparks flying everywhere. Their movements were graceful, their techniques exquisite. Both the Qi family's spear art and the Gong family's blade art were at a high level. The pressure of their god meridian cultivation surged. Around them, spectators watched with rapt attention. The Gong family's blade techniques and the Qi family's spear techniques both have their merits, someone praised. These 2 are evenly matched. It'll take a while before a winner's decided. Just as that man predicted, the battle dragged on for more than 10 minutes. After more than 10 minutes, both fighters were panting, their bodies covered in wounds. You're done for, Gong 1 laughed. Better surrender while you can. Bullshit. I can fight dozens more rounds, Qi Wen snorted coldly. He thrust his spear forward, the tip bursting with endless sharp light. An inch longer, an inch stronger. Gong 1 swung his blades in a flurry, the air roaring with every strike. When the weapons met again, waves of energy blasted outward. At that moment, Gong 1 suddenly thrust his left hand forward. Several sharp arrows shot out from the wide sleeve of his robe. Qi Wen's face changed. He lifted his spear upward, deflecting the arrows with a twist, knocking them all aside. But Gong 1 seized the opening. His blade sliced through Qi Wen's robe, leaving a bloody mark on his back, then kicked him hard, sending him flying. Despicable. Using tricks. Qi Wu, Qi Wen's younger brother, roared angrily from the side. In battle, There's only victory or defeat, Gong 1 retorted coldly. There's no such thing as fair or unfair. He wasn't strong enough, he should accept it. Fine, Chi Wu growled, his jaw clenched. His broad frame loomed as he stepped forward, muscles tight as steel. Who's next? His tiger-like eyes glared around. Under that gaze, few dared meet his eyes directly. Gong 2, you go, Bei Qinghai commanded. Yes. The second Gong brother stepped out slowly, sword in hand. He stood upright in his white robes, facing Chi Wu from across the arena. Please enlighten me. Enough talk, let's start, Chi Wu said impatiently. Gong 2 raised his sword and slashed downward. But Chi Wu didn't even draw a weapon. He caught the blade barehanded. The sword struck his palm as if it had hit solid steel. Gong 2 tried to pull it back, but couldn't. Chi Wu roared like a tiger shaking the mountains and snapped the sword in two before slamming a heavy fist into Gong 2's chest. Blood sprayed as Gong 2's body was hurled across the ground. Second brother, the other two Gong brothers shouted. I'm fine. I can still fight, Gong 2 said weakly, standing up and waving his hand. Though blood streamed from his mouth and nose, he still straightened his back proudly. Gong 2 was careless, Xie Chang'e said calmly from the pavilion. It's said the Qi family's spear technique is unmatched, but Chi Wu hasn't practiced the spear. He's trained his body like a savage beast's, winning purely by brute strength. Su Zimo nodded in agreement. If Gong 2 had kept his distance and used sword energy instead of clashing directly, he might have won. But now it's too late. As Su Zimo finished speaking, the outcome was already clear. Badly wounded, Gong 2 couldn't withstand more than a few more furious blows before collapsing. With one win and one loss each, the final match would decide everything. Bei Xiao felt uneasy. He turned to Meng Yu and asked, That man? He's reliable, right? He couldn't help but worry. This young man was a complete unknown. If he lost, there would be no chance for redemption. Trust my judgment, Meng Yu said softly, narrowing her eyes. My turn, Su Zimo yawned, walking lazily onto the stage. Such fights didn't interest him in the slightest. If not for wanting to meet the Dragon Maiden, he wouldn't have bothered at all. From the crowd, the youngest Gong brother stepped forward. Among the three, his cultivation was the highest. He had already stepped into the immortal realm. Dressed in green robes, he had an air of grace about him. His eyes were calm as water, his presence serene, faint immortal aura rising around him. Each step he took seemed imbued with celestial rhythm. You've copied an immortal's demeanor but learned none of the essence, Su Zimo said with a smile. At that, Gong 3's expression turned cold. Even the red mark between his brows flared, releasing a beam of scarlet light. Amid that eerie glow, a third eye slowly opened. Say that again, Gong 3 said coldly. I said you're trash, Su Zimo replied, still smiling. Courting death, Gong 3 snapped, wasting no more words. The third eye between his brows shot out a crimson beam like roaring flames, devouring everything in its path. It's the Scarlet Flame Celestial Eye, someone exclaimed. They say Gong 3 once slew the king of the Scarlet Flame Eye Beasts and transplanted its eye into his own forehead. Looks like the rumors were true. As the scorching red light surged toward him, Su Zimo raised his right hand and struck outward. A crushing force filled the air. The red beam was instantly deflected back. The reflected light hit Gong 3 squarely in the brow. The crimson glow exploded. He fell to the ground, writhing in agony. It took a full minute before he could even begin to recover from the pain. As soon as he opened his eyes, a heavy foot came crashing down toward him, slamming his head straight into the ground. How dull! Su Zimo shook his head slightly and asked, Anyone else want to continue the match? Everyone fell silent. Gong 3, who had reached the arcane immortal ascension heaven, was crushed like an insect, effortlessly and without resistance. The spectators, who had expected a fierce battle, were left speechless. Who is that young man? People around the arena whispered to each other, but no one had an answer. Father, I've won, Bei Xiao laughed joyfully as he walked up to the middle-aged man, his face beaming with excitement. "Promise me one thing," the city lord of the North Sea said weakly. "Father, just say the word," Bei Xiao replied. "I've passed the position of city lord to you," the North Sea city lord said slowly. "But you must swear that for the next 100 years, your younger brother will live in peace." Before Bei Xiao could answer, Bei Qinghai snorted coldly. "I don't need his protection." "I'm not asking him to protect you," the North Sea city lord corrected. "I'm asking him not to kill you." "Don't worry, father," Bei Xiao said with a smile. "No matter what, he's still my brother. I won't kill him." The North Sea city lord nodded and took out a token. Every generation of city lords must receive the Dragon Maiden's recognition. Take this token and go to the North Sea tomorrow. After that, you'll officially be the true city lord of North Sea City. As he finished speaking, his pale face turned ashen. Moments later, his breathing ceased entirely. "Father!" Bei Xiao and Bei Qinghai shouted, but there was no response. The city lord was gone. "Send the word," Bei Xiao ordered calmly. "After I return from the North Sea, give my father a proper burial." He held the city lord's token tightly in his hand. The surrounding soldiers bowed and began following his orders. A separate group of soldiers surrounded Bei Qinghai. "What are you doing?" Bei Qinghai asked sharply, frowning. "Have you already forgotten father's final words? Until my succession is complete, I'll have to trouble you to stay confined for a while," Bei Xiao said with a faint smile. "Once I return, you'll be free." He couldn't afford for Bei Qinghai to stir up trouble at such a crucial moment. After swiftly taking control of the situation, the other gathered nobles and prodigies stepped forward to offer their congratulations. Bei Xiao thanked them one by one, then turned to Su Zimo and his companions. "Brother Su, I'll remember your kindness. Tomorrow, I'll personally escort you to the North Sea to meet the Dragon Maiden. As for the Qi brothers, if there's anything you want, just say it." Su Zimo nodded slightly. Bei Xiao's attitude was decent enough. After the banquet concluded, Su Zimo and Xie Chonglu were arranged to stay in the city lord's mansion. "Do you think the Dragon Maiden will be an enemy or an ally?" Sword God Xie Chonglu asked. "An enemy," Su Zimo said calmly. He sat in the courtyard as the autumn winds rustled the falling leaves. Thunderclouds gathered in the distance. "Prepare yourself for a great battle. You haven't even met her yet, and you've already decided that?" Xie Chonglu smiled faintly. Su Zimo didn't answer. The bullhorn of the Red-Blade Bull Demon had told him enough. The North Sea was no ordinary place. And since the Dragon Maiden ruled it, she was most likely the mastermind behind the scenes. The two talked until dusk before returning to their rooms for the night. The next morning, the city lord's mansion was already making preparations for the journey to the North Sea. Ordinarily, the succession of a new city lord would be a time of public celebration. But since the previous city lord had just passed away, everything was kept low-key. Soldiers carried ornate sedan chairs, one for Bei Xiao and one for Meng Yu. Bei Xiao had also arranged 2 new sedan chairs for Su Zimo and Xie Chonglu. Su Zimo didn't refuse. Though slower than flying, it would suffice. The 4 sedan chairs left North Sea City, heading northward. As they traveled side by side, Bei Xiao opened the window and smiled. "Brother Su, I suppose this is your first time in the North Sea?" "You could say that," Su Zimo replied. "The North Sea is the greatest among the mortal seas," Bei Xiao said proudly. "It stretches across 2 entire regions. When we meet the Dragon Maiden, remember, speak little and don't offend her." Su Zimo nodded with a faint smile. By afternoon, the sedan chairs reached the shore of the North Sea. The sun was setting, its red gold light spilling across the endless water. The sea stretched beyond sight, vast and boundless, its horizon lost to the mist. "Meng Yu," Bei Xiao said, smiling, "I'll trouble you to open the path." Meng Yu turned and looked deeply at Su Zimo before stepping toward the water. Forming seals with her hands, she sent several complex wind marks into the sea. The calm surface suddenly began to churn. Waves surged, massive swells roaring up like walls of water, 1,000 layers deep. Between two towering waves, a strip of solid land emerged, stretching far into the unknown. On both sides of the path, countless shrimp soldiers and crab generals stood poised atop the waves. "Let's go," Meng Yu said, taking the first step onto the path. Su Zimo and the others followed. After about 10 minutes of walking, they reached an enormous iron gate. It stood 100 meters tall, rusted and ancient, with two lion heads mounted on it, their faces fierce, their eyes bulging wide. "This is as far as I go," Meng Yu said. Bei Shao immediately knelt and shouted loudly, "Bei Shao, new lord of North Sea City, requests an audience with the Dragon Maiden. Brother Su, kneel," he urged quickly when he noticed Su Zimo and Xie Changlu still standing. "I've never knelt to anyone in my life," Su Zimo said with a faint smile. He looked at Meng Yu. "Take me to the pool of demonic transformation." "Without my master's order, you can't enter," Meng Yu replied. "Don't make me repeat myself," Su Zimo said coldly, narrowing his eyes. "This is the North Sea," Meng Yu frowned. "What do you think you're doing?" Su Zimo raised his hand and struck. Thunder and wind exploded outward, engulfing her completely. "Bold fool! How dare you cause trouble in the realm of the North Sea?" A booming voice echoed from all directions, not just one, but several, overlapping with fury. The iron gates swung open. Several figures of immense power stepped out, their presence shaking the air. All around, the sea roared to life. Countless shrimp soldiers and crab generals stood atop the waves, beating war drums in unison, their numbers beyond counting. At the forefront stood three towering figures, each one radiating the aura akin to that of a grand emperor, an immortal monarch. An old man with a long beard, a woman with the body of a serpent, and a burly man with a tiger's head resting on his shoulder. Behind them stood a host of immortal warriors. Su Zimo smiled faintly. "Since you've been waiting for me all this time, why bother hiding any longer?" From the moment he arrived, he had already sensed their powerful auras lurking beneath the surface, waiting for his appearance. He simply forced them out directly. There was no point in beating around the bush. The woman with a human face and serpent's body was clearly an emperor, while the long-bearded old man and the burly tiger-headed figure were both at the immortal monarch level. Their Tao source surged, their immortal auras resplendent. Boom! 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 Countless shrimp soldiers and crab generals beat their war drums, their thunderous rhythm shaking the surface of the entire North Sea. The combined pressure of their presence reverberated across the vast ocean, earth-shaking and sky-shattering. "I am the green-scaled serpent king of the North Sea. I am the white tiger venerable of the North Sea. I am the war immortal of the North Sea," the three shouted in unison. "With the three of us here, who dares behave so wantonly? So you were prepared for me all along," Su Zimo said with a smile. "Where is the Dragon Maiden? How dare you speak the master's name so directly?" The white tiger venerable snapped coldly. "Master? For a dignified immortal monarch to debase himself into a dog. How pitiful!" Su Zimo mocked with disdain. "We have no interest in verbal sparring. Capture him and imprison him within the North Sea first." War Immortal bellowed. With a wave of his hand, boundless immortal mist surged forth. The sea around them roared violently, waves rising higher and higher, like dragons crashing through the heavens, all surging towards Su Zimo. Meng Yu's figure had already vanished. As the waves descended, the path of land beneath their feet was instantly submerged. "Help me! My lords, save me!" Bei Shao cried desperately. But no one paid him any heed. The waves simply swallowed everything. Su Zimo stepped into the air, his body gliding above the raging sea, moving forward with the tide. Behind him, his blade Shadow Tyrant drew itself from its sheath. Blade intent flickered like lightning across the sky. With a single slash, half the heavens split apart. Amidst thunder and storm, the tidal waves before him were cleaved in two. The blade's momentum did not falter. It continued straight toward War Immortal. At that instant, two loud bangs sounded. The white tiger Venerable appeared in front of the oncoming blade Intent, his tiger claws flashing like steel. He tore the attack apart within his grasp. With a fierce roar that shook the heavens, he leapt forward, his claws gleaming with bloodlust as they slashed toward Suzumo. The last of the trio, the green-scaled Serpent King, was not to be outdone. She waved her right hand, releasing a billowing cloud of green poisonous mist. The venom was terrifying. Nothing it touched could survive. Nothing it met could resist. Even the void itself corroded and collapsed. The eerie green fog made all who saw it tremble in fear. Even the white tiger Venerable was startled. "Serpent King, don't you dare hit me with that." "Relax," the green-scaled Serpent King replied with a cold smile. "I'm watching my aim." Shadow Tyrant clashed against the tiger claws, sparks flying in every direction, neither gaining the upper hand. Meanwhile, the poison mist surrounded Suzumo, closing in tighter and tighter. "Condense," the green-scaled Serpent King hissed. Countless streams of venom surged inward. Suzumo's war god power erupted from within. He activated Heaven-Earth Dharma Codex, his form towering like a giant, untouched by all laws, invincible. With a sweep of his arm, the poison mist was blown away. Then, with a single step, he crushed the white tiger Venerable back into the ground. The green-scaled Serpent King exchanged a glance with War Immortal. War Immortal pressed his palms together, chanting rapidly under his breath. War Immortal, unyielding, unthinking, unfearing. His words became faster and faster until they were no longer comprehensible. The surrounding immortal chi grew denser and heavier. War Immortal Divine Arrow, Heaven-Piercing Tao. War Immortal roared. From the void itself, immortal chi condensed into an arrow, its power cutting through countless waves. It tore through the air toward Suzumo. In the primordial era, when ancient gods stood tall, it was said that Xiang once chased the sun with this very same War Immortal Divine Arrow. "How will you block it?" War Immortal sneered. The arrow was indeed extraordinary. Imbued with ancient power, eternal and unstoppable. It exploded before Suzumo, filling his vision with blinding radiance. He raised Shadow Tyrant, the blade intercepting the arrow's tip. The air rippled violently. The arrow's power surged unendingly, as though it meant to pierce through the blade itself. At that moment, tiger roars echoed again. The white tiger Venerable, who had been crushed under Suzumo's foot, suddenly strained upward, muscles bulging, forcing himself to his feet. His entire body swelled with power, yellow and black fur extending over a meter long, hard as steel. He had become a true beast incarnate, fangs bared, the Wang symbol glowing on his forehead, immortal essence flaring across his body. "Kill!" The white tiger grabbed Suzumo's leg, while War Immortal's divine arrow pinned his arms. The green-scaled Serpent King's pupils slit into narrow triangles as she hissed, her breath like a serpent's whisper. Her human upper body remained, but her serpentine lower half expanded to a massive size, its coils hundreds of meters thick. She lashed out with her tail, wrapping tightly around Suzumo's body, trying to crush him into pulp. Suzumo's eyes narrowed. The immense pressure pressing in from all sides was suffocating. Demon, fifth form, mortal demon, the extinguisher of all things. He whispered, and the aura of annihilation flowed over his body. His blood ran backward, black veins bulging as if they would burst. The sound of blood surging echoed like waves. His eyes turned scarlet. With another stomp of his right foot, the white tiger Venerable, just risen, was slammed back down. The serpent tail constricting him shattered into pieces. Then, gripping Shadow Tyrant in one hand, Suzumo caught the War Immortal Divine Arrow by its tail with the other. He hurled it back. A thunderous explosion rang out as the arrow shot across the void, piercing straight through War Immortal's forehead. It nailed him in place, suspended in midair. "Send out the Dragon Maiden." "You three are not enough," Suzumo said flatly. He waved his hand, pulling War Immortal's soul from his body and imprisoning it within the void. Lightning poured down, striking the trapped spirit relentlessly. He then bent down, grabbed the white tiger Venerable by the neck, and lifted him up like a doll. Striding forward with massive steps, he charged toward the green-scaled Serpent King, blade in one hand, tiger in the other, his killing intent engulfing the heavens. "Retreat!" the Serpent King cried, realizing the danger. She fled back into the North Sea. Suzumo didn't chase her immediately. The North Sea was vast, too easy to get lost in. He needed her to lead the way. "Stop him. I'll summon the Dragon Maiden," the Serpent King commanded. Instantly, countless shrimp soldiers, crab generals, and other seaborne warriors surged toward Suzumo, waves of bodies trying to hold him back. "You go," Xie Changlu said beside him. "Don't waste time. I'll hold them here." "Sword God, dissolution," he shouted. His figure vanished, leaving behind countless swords suspended in the air, each gleaming with lethal light. The countless swords took on different forms. There were domineering heavy blades, lightning-fast rapiers, short swords, and lightsabers. Every type of sword imaginable was present, each wielding its own law and power. The massive swords clashed against the shrimp soldiers and crab generals, while Suzumo used the opportunity to advance. With a single step, he shattered the massive iron gate before him. What met his eyes was a breathtaking undersea world. Azure waters stretched endlessly into the depths. Schools of luminous fish, lanternfish, and brilliantly colored koi swam calmly, as if the chaos above the surface had nothing to do with them. Seaweed, coral, and purple wisteria intertwined and thrived together, with occasional flashes of starlight glimmering in the water. Suzumo dove straight into the sea, his gaze searching for the green-scaled Serpent King. Once in the ocean, the serpent moved as if returning home. Her long tail flicked gracefully, and she vanished swiftly into the deep. "Where is the Dragon Maiden?" Suzumo demanded, gripping the white tiger Venerable in one hand. "I don't know," the tiger snarled coldly. "Last warning. I'm not interested in useless talk." Suzumo tore off one of his arms. "Ah!" the white tiger Venerable screamed in agony. Then the other arm was ripped off. A moment later, both his legs followed. "Will you speak or die?" Suzumo asked calmly, his hand resting on the man's head. "You won't leave here alive," the white tiger rasped through gritted teeth. "Even if I die, I'll be waiting for you down below." The next instant, his head was torn clean from his neck, thick blood gushing forth. Suzumo tossed the corpse aside and scanned his surroundings, finding no trace of anyone. Searching blindly would be useless. He slowly drew out the demon horn from his True Fate world, his eyes narrowing. Activating the hell-suppressing demon physique, he released a tide of demonic energy. The surrounding blue ocean turned pitch black under its influence. Closing his eyes, Suzumo let the demonic aura of the horn merge with his own, extending his spiritual sense across tens of thousands of miles. At last, he opened his eyes. "East," he murmured, and the power of water encircled him as he surged toward that direction. He swam for half an hour through the boundless sea, following only the faintest thread of perception. Finally, he stopped before a massive gate. Within 100 miles of this place, there was no life, no fish, no coral, only silence. Before the gate stood a dozen guards holding halberd axes. Their weapons crossed in formation, arranged in 10 precise rows before the entrance. "The Dragon Guard stands here. Let all gods retreat," they chanted in unison. Their solemn voices echoed through the empty water, heavy with reverence and authority. "Piss off," Suzumo said coldly. The Dragon Guards ignored him, their auras rising in unison, merging together into the faint outline of a divine dragon. This was the Azure Thunder Dragon formation, a battle array formed by the combined might of many Dragon Guards. "Die," Suzumo commanded, stirring the waters with a sweep of his hand. A massive celestial hand rose from the sea, summoning a storm that sent waves thousands of meters high crashing down toward them. The dragon guard's energies surged as the spectral dragon above them roared forth. It burst through the celestial hand and charged straight at Suzumo. "Weaklings," Suzumo said softly. He reached out and grabbed the dragon by its horns, wrenching it sideways. With a violent heave, he slammed the colossal creature into the seafloor. A thunderous crash followed, the impact carving a deep crater into the ground. Suzumo's fist came down next, smashing the dragon's massive head into the depths below. As the dragon fell, the dragon guards coughed blood, their bodies staggering from the backlash. Before they could recover, Suzumo hurled the dragon's body toward them. Another deafening crash shook the waters, sending the dragon guards flying in all directions. Step by step, Suzumo approached the great gate. It looked ancient, sealed for countless ages, with patterns of yin and yang intertwining across its surface. He clenched both fists and struck. A thunderous boom echoed, waves surging high into the heavens. But the gate did not budge, not even a crack. Suzumo frowned slightly. Just then, a voice echoed beside him. "Don't bother. You can't open that gate. It's sealed by the power of an ancient god. No one can." Suzumo turned. A towering phantom appeared within the water behind him. The figure stood 100 meters tall, like a serene goddess gazing down at him. "Dragon Maiden?" Suzumo asked. "So, you've come seeking the demon," she replied. "And you as well," Suzumo said. "Me?" she asked, intrigued. "I heard you're a master blacksmith of the mortal ascension heaven. I came to have you forge me a weapon," Suzumo explained. "The matter of forging can wait," the Dragon Maiden replied coolly. "Whether you can leave this place alive is another question." "So, the North Sea bears me such hostility," Suzumo said lightly. "Then stop hiding and face me head-on." "I will, naturally," the Dragon Maiden replied. "But before that, shall we make a deal?" "What kind of deal?" Suzumo asked, frowning. "A battle," she said. "If I lose, I will forge a weapon for you, free of charge. If you lose, you will remain imprisoned in the North Sea for 100,000 years. After that, you'll regain your freedom." "Deal," Suzumo agreed immediately. "You won't even think about it?" the Dragon Maiden asked, surprised. "No need." Suzumo shook his head. He knew well that within the mortal ascension heaven, only Brahma stood above all. Below the Saint Sovereign realm, he feared no one. The waters of the North Sea began to churn violently as the Dragon Maiden's phantom solidified. Her face was radiant and flawless, framed by long flowing hair. She wore a white robe, her bearing noble and composed. 2 cerulean dragon horns rose from her head, and a white dragon tail trailed behind her. Her skin was as pale and smooth as mutton-fat jade. Her long silver hair drifted gently in the water. Her figure was exquisite, graceful, full of life, and commanding. "So, you've finally chosen to appear," Suzumo said. "I knew you would come one day," the Dragon Maiden replied. "Though not this soon. What can I say? I often defy all expectation," Suzumo chuckled. "Even the heavenly Tao cannot foresee everything." "How could you?" The Dragon Maiden raised her hand. The entire North Sea trembled. From the depths of the abyss, a massive iron staff rose, parting the waters in a roaring tsunami, and landed in her grasp. The staff radiated overwhelming might, capable of crushing mountains and stirring oceans. "The Torch Dragon staff ranked 29th among the Grand Thousand Treasures," she said calmly. "What is your relationship with the dragon race?" Suzumo asked. "One must know the 9 heavens were different from the primordial heartlands. On the primordial heartlands, most of the dragon race had already perished at the hands of the Sky-Shroud war god. Those who survived were few, perhaps only the dragon tree in Suzumo's god world. That dragon tree bloomed and bore fruit, giving birth to millions of dragons. But in the 9 heavens, the dragon race was one of the 8 lower beast races of the Azure Mystic Heaven, extremely powerful and untouchable by ordinary beings. The dragons that appeared nowadays were often false dragons, creatures with fragmented traces of true dragon blood, or impure hybrids. Some even cultivated techniques modeled after dragons, allowing them to manifest dragon forms like the dragon guards earlier. Yet these too were not true dragons. After all, true dragons would never appear in the mortal ascension heaven. Among the 16 beast races, the emergence of a fierce roaring beast like the Elder Fiend was already a miracle of the ages. That is not something you should concern yourself with, the Dragon Maiden said coldly. It seems you hold some resentment toward the dragon race, Suzumo said with a faint smile. The Dragon Maiden said nothing. The torch dragon staff in her hand slowly spun, and from within came the low, resonant roar of a true dragon. Boundless dragon might burst forth, stirring waves that surged through the entire sea. As one of the Grand Thousand Treasures, ranked 29th, the torch dragon staff's power was beyond question. Artifacts of the Grand Thousand Treasures were very rare in the mortal ascension heaven. Their near-infinite power was not limited to offense. Many possessed defensive or self-enhancing properties, or mysterious effects beyond comprehension. The torch dragon staff blazed with golden light, transforming into a rushing torrent that struck straight at Suzumo. Suzumo gripped Shadow Tyrant, his body surrounded by the nomological truth of water, and slashed forward. With a thunderous boom, torrents exploded in all directions. The water itself shattered, two dull shockwaves resounding one after another. Suzumo staggered back several steps, while the torch dragon staff returned to the Dragon Maiden's grasp. With a sharp cry, her aura surged upward like a rainbow piercing the sun, limitless and unstoppable. Her power had already surpassed the level of a Grand Emperor of the 5th stage. A Saint Sovereign? Suzumo frowned slightly, then shook his head. No, a Saint Sovereign's soul transcends even the divine, gaining independent consciousness and self-growth. Their life and death souls can exist outside the body, so even if their god soul perishes, they remain undying. But what he sensed from her wasn't that. The energy the Dragon Maiden wielded was primal Tao. Everyone knew, a Grand Emperor comprehends nomological truths, a Saint Sovereign forges primal Tao, and an infinite Tao cultivator shakes the primordial edicts themselves. The power of primal Tao indeed belonged to a Saint Sovereign. Yet the primal Taos of a Saint Sovereign differed from those of a Nirvana Void cultivator. On the primordial heartlands, stepping into the Zenith Immortal Realm in the path of immortality marked the beginning of the Nirvana Void Realm, when one could grasp primal Taos. But those were the primal Taos of the primordial heartlands. A true Saint Sovereign, however, cultivated the primal Taos of the 9 heavens, a vast and higher world. Between the two, the difference was not merely one of magnitude, but of essence. The Dragon Maiden was wielding primal Tao, yet her foundation had not reached that of a Saint Sovereign. There was only one explanation: she was a pseudo-saint. What was a pseudo-saint? One who comprehended primal Tao but had not undergone the heavenly tribulation required for sainthood. Their law had not been recognized by heaven and earth. Thus, they could only be called a pseudo-saint. Interesting, Suzumo smiled. No wonder you dared to wager with me. Aside from Saint Sovereign Brahma, you must be the closest one in this realm to true sainthood. Enough talk. Fight, the Dragon Maiden said coldly. She wielded the torch dragon staff like a divine war goddess clad in armor, charging straight towards Suzumo. From the staff poured not only immense dragon might, but also a mysterious power, one that seemed to counteract demonic energy itself. Wherever this power flowed, the surrounding demonic energy melted away like snow under spring sunlight. The art of subduing demons. The Dragon Maiden's voice rang out as she swept her staff, her aura surging mightily. Her blows came down like thunder, pressing Suzumo onto the defensive. Even when Suzumo invoked the war god's power, momentarily elevating himself to the Sovereign Lord stage of the Grand Emperor realm, he still could not gain the upper hand. The Heaven Unity 3 Lives gates opened within him, power circulating endlessly through his body. Their figures streaked across the depths of the North Sea, the entire ocean trembling with their battle. Suzumo's 19 forms of Tao-seeking evolved continuously, each move sharper than the last. Even so, the pressure on him remained immense. The clash between nomological truths and primal Daos was not merely a difference of strength, it was a difference of reality itself. "Yield," the Dragon Maiden said evenly. "You have no chance of victory. Not yet a saint sovereign, and already so arrogant?" Su Zimo laughed. His curved blade clashed against the torch dragon staff again, waves of energy rippling outward. One of the 10 primordial god scriptures, Aryan swastika god seal. Su Zimo held his blade in his right hand, forming a sacred seal with his left. A massive golden wand sigil manifested, surging forward toward the Dragon Maiden. The Dragon Maiden countered with her own palm strike. Dragon hidden within palm. A golden dragon burst forth from her hand, colliding with the Aryan swastika god seal. Thunder roared. Boom! 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 Waves exploded, shaking the sea for billions of miles. Both figures were forced backward by the impact. "Azure Dragon Spirit Infusion!" the Dragon Maiden shouted. With a sweep of her arm, a long azure dragon flew from her hand and fused into the torch dragon staff. Dragon cries echoed through the ocean, their might radiant and supreme. Battle! Like a war goddess unyielding to any man, the Dragon Maiden charged again, her staff entwined with living dragons. Each strike carried the spirit of the dragon itself. Su Zimo's eyes narrowed, hundreds of billions of power vortexes of the heaven-shattering god scripture within his body spinning wildly. The azure dragon's advance was unstoppable, its aura suffused with the power to suppress all beneath heaven. One strike of her staff lifted 10,000 waves, overturning the entire sea. Su Zimo rose above the North Sea, his feet stepping lightly on the water's surface. The Dragon Maiden pursued him relentlessly. Within the ocean, she was unmatched, moving like water itself. 10 forms of demon, third form, terrestrial demon, the embodiment of all calamities. Su Zimo raised both hands, summoning the disasters of nature. In the ocean, the greatest disaster was, of course, the tsunami. With a wave, the entirety of the North Sea erupted in furious motion. The waves rose like mountains, threatening to swallow the world. Above, thunderclouds gathered, purple lightning streaked across the heavens, crashing down into the sea. The force of nature, unstoppable by man. The tsunami roared forth, engulfing the Dragon Maiden. Her gaze remained calm as she raised her hand once more. A massive water dragon coiled around her, born from the sea itself. Sea Dragon Guard. Flame Dragon Descent. From the thunderous clouds above, a crimson dragon of fire emerged, roaring as it descended upon Su Zimo. At the same moment, the tsunami surged toward the Dragon Maiden. The sea dragon met the wave, and the flame dragon struck Su Zimo. The ocean surface exploded in chaos. The shockwave spread for tens of millions of kilometers, shaking the entire North Sea. Billions of sea creatures perished in an instant. When the deafening explosion finally faded, silence fell once more. Neither Su Zimo nor the Dragon Maiden could be seen. Far away, millions of kilometers from the battlefield, the two had already clashed once more, rising into the sky, then plunging back into the depths of the sea. "You're quite capable," the Dragon Maiden said. "It's you who's a little disappointing if that's all you've got," Su Zimo replied with a faint smile. "No need to rush. You won't be leaving the North Sea today," the Dragon Maiden answered coldly. Behind her, a half-dragon, half-immortal celestial phantom slowly rose. It was her true fate. It was called half-dragon because, from the neck down, her true fate's form was covered in a thin layer of dragon scales. 2 ancient dragon horns curved atop her head, massive and gray-brown, with exposed dragon bones intertwined and layered upon each other. It was half-immortal because, apart from her dragon's might, there was also a distinct immortal aura about her, a purity that was almost never seen in the mortal ascension heaven. Her face was flawless as frost, serene and cold, like a celestial maiden descending from the 9th sky. She wore the purple silk immortal garment, ranked 92nd among the Grand Thousand Treasures. Though it lacked offensive power, its defense was extraordinary. More than that, it was a thing of beauty, envied by every woman in the world, impervious to all forms of harm, as if blessed by divinity itself. It was both an amplifying and defensive divine artifact. To possess two of the grand thousand treasures at once, and in the mortal ascension heaven of the nine heavens no less, made it clear that this dragon maiden's origins were far from ordinary. Brilliant light radiated from the purple silk immortal garment, colorful and dazzling like a rainbow, illuminating everything around her. Her jade feet stepped lightly on the air as she closed her eyes, merging her body with her true fate. When she opened them again, it was as if heaven and earth were reversed, sun and moon overturned. The entire North Sea churned violently. Su Zimo immediately felt the crushing weight of her aura. His blood seemed to freeze within his veins. Every hair on his body stood on end. A deep sense of peril gripped him. The dragon maiden's face was calm, neither joy nor anger showing. She flicked her fingers lightly, and the sea before her split open, forming a sky-reaching corridor. A condensed sphere of water shot forth, exploding against Su Zimo's chest and hurling him backward with overwhelming force. The dragon maiden raised her hand again. The torch dragon staff shot up into the sky and instantly expanded, turning into a colossal pillar that pierced through heaven itself. From above, it came crashing down like the weight of the world. The pressure pinned Su Zimo to the ground. His body refused to move. Finally, the massive staff slammed down squarely onto his back. The dragon maiden walked toward him with calm, deliberate steps, her voice cold and even. "You've lost. According to our wager, you will remain sealed in the North Sea for 100,000 years. It's not over yet," Su Zimo said with a quiet smile. Bracing his hands against the enormous staff, his bent back slowly straightened. He stood tall again, gazed deep and emotionless, his calm as still as dead water. The demonic aura surrounding him faded, replaced by the power of creation itself. Behind him, a vast azure planet slowly rose into view. When it appeared, the very void around them shattered, as though two powers from entirely different dimensions were colliding. The dragon maiden stepped back several paces, eyes narrowing as she stared at the mysterious planet. The torch dragon staff was blasted away upon contact with it. Su Zimo raised a hand, and the planet began to rotate slowly. Each turn radiated the resonance of the grand Tao itself, so dense with divine meaning it was terrifying to behold. "What is that thing?" the dragon maiden demanded. "A thing," Su Zimo chuckled. "You could call it the greatest creation of this era." As the azure planet ascended, the aura of the grand Tao around Su Zimo surged beyond measure. So strong his body trembled at its limit. He raised his blade. Tao intent merged with blade intent, the two fusing into one. He struck. A single arc of blade light, billions of miles long, split heaven and sea alike. It cleaved half the North Sea and half the sky, leaving the dragon maiden nowhere to hide. Her jade finger pointed forward, summoning her sea dragon once more. The purple silk immortal garment blazed brighter, ribbons fluttering like waves of color around her. The blade's energy shattered the sea dragon in half, continuing on unabated. The dragon maiden thrust both palms forward, her primal Tao of water flaring outward to form another barrier. The barrier broke, but the blow had weakened. When the strike finally landed upon her immortal garment, it barely stirred. Yet as the blade's energy faded, the azure planet above began to descend. Su Zimo stepped into the air, one foot pressing atop the planet. With the force of a collapsing planet, it fell. Before it even landed fully, its sheer gravity bent the world around it. The dragon maiden could barely lift her head under the immense weight. "Sun-moon converge," she cried. The heavens above twisted. Day and night divided the world, half blinding light, half endless shadow. The sun and moon appeared together in the same sky. Bathed in their dual light, the dragon maiden's rigid body slowly moved again. Then the azure planet crashed down. She raised her arms, catching it head-on, her body driven deep into the sea under its crushing might. She sank millions of meters before the fall stopped. The power of primal Tao surged through her body as the light of her purple silk immortal garment dimmed. Heavenly Tao, devour! Su Zimo roared. Before the Dragon Maiden could react, Su Zimo summoned the heavenly Tao of the god world itself, opening a rift in space. A vortex appeared, pulling her toward it. The Dragon Maiden's face hardened. She poured all her strength into resisting the pull. The two forces deadlocked. Su Zimo took a deep breath. A pseudo-saint is already this formidable. If she were a true saint sovereign, I'd have no chance at all. At these heights, a single realm of difference was an unbridgeable chasm. Primordial chaos bead, he said softly. With a flick of his hand, the primordial chaos bead broke through the void, spinning 3 times in the air. A mysterious force descended. For a brief instant, the Dragon Maiden's consciousness faltered. When she came to her senses, she was already somewhere else. "Welcome to my god world," Su Zimo said with a faint smile as he approached. The Dragon Maiden looked around, still prepared to fight, but when she saw the heavenly Tao suspended high above, and sensed the Saint's sovereign realm auras of Paimon and Sevenface beside Su Zimo, all thoughts of resistance vanished. "If you have Saint sovereigns like these, why didn't you summon them earlier?" she asked coldly. "Why go through all this trouble?" "Well, our wager was between you and me," Su Zimo replied. "It had nothing to do with anyone else." "What is this place?" the Dragon Maiden asked. "First," Su Zimo said, drawing both the Grand Pivot Godsword and Shadow Tyrant from his side, "you'll honor our agreement. I want you to help me fuse these 2 weapons." "I must say, you've got quite the ambition," the Dragon Maiden said with a wry smile. "The Grand Pivot Godsword is no ordinary thing, and that blade of yours, it's clearly not normal either. Fusing these 2 weapons together will not be tolerated by Heavenly Tao," the Dragon Maiden said. "When that heavenly tribulation comes, I won't be able to withstand it." "In this world," Su Zimo replied calmly, "there is no heavenly tribulation, because here, I decide what exists. Also," he added with a faint smile, "I want your Torch Dragon Staff to be fused in as well." "No!" the Dragon Maiden immediately protested. "The Torch Dragon Staff is the sacred treasure of the dragon race. If you dare fuse it, you'll bring the wrath of the entire dragon race upon you. Even if all 16 beast races came at once, I wouldn't fear them, let alone a single dragon race," Su Zimo said with amusement. "If you insist on fusing the Torch Dragon Staff, then I'd rather refuse to help you forge anything," the Dragon Maiden said coldly. "Whatever. To be honest," Su Zimo replied, "I don't really care much for that staff anyway. How long will it take to fuse the 2 main weapons? If we rely on pure forging without external aid, it will take at least 1 month, she said after thinking for a moment. And I'll need various auxiliary materials for the forging process. Name them. Whatever you need, I'll provide it, Su Zimo said. In 1 month, I want a brand new sword in my hand. Most materials are easy enough to find, the Dragon Maiden said. But there are 2 that I doubt you possess. What are they? Su Zimo asked. To forge weapons of this level, we need a flame capable of melting them. The Grand Pivot Godsword is no ordinary weapon. I don't yet know of any flame that could melt it, she explained. Second, once the fusion is complete, we'll need something to cool and stabilize the weapon. A frost that can extinguish even that kind of divine fire. Do you have such a thing? Su Zimo brought out the 9-curve divine fire he had once obtained from the Heavenly Tao Academy. It was the same flame he'd used to merge the Shadow Tyrant with the True God Sword in the past. This flame is powerful, the Dragon Maiden said, shaking her head. But still not enough. If you don't believe me, try melting the Grand Pivot Godsword with it. Then do you know of any place where such fire and frost might exist? Su Zimo asked. Even if I did, why would I tell you? The Dragon Maiden replied. Our agreement only said I would forge the weapon. It didn't include providing materials. Don't you want your freedom? Su Zimo asked. I do, she said quietly. But I don't believe you'd let me go, because I've discovered your secret. Her eyes swept across their surroundings, and she gave a faint smile. If I'm not mistaken, this place is a self-contained world, isn't it? Someone actually created an independent world from their true fate. What are you planning? Do you intend to replace the 9 heavens themselves? That's not something you need to concern yourself with, Suzimo replied. If you refuse to tell me, you'll remain imprisoned here for eternity. But if you cooperate, tell me your regrets or final wishes. I might consider granting them. You can decide for yourself. I truly don't know about the flame, the Dragon Maiden said finally. But as for the frost at the bottom of the North Sea, there lies a mountain of deep-sea black ice. It is the coldest, hardest substance in existence. However, even I can't approach it. The depths of the North Sea are home to countless shadowy sea beasts, ancient creatures of godlike strength and in great numbers. Some of them have lived since the primordial era. When I first built the North Sea City, I wanted to use deep-sea black ice, she continued, but I couldn't obtain it, so I had to settle for mystic ice instead. Mystic ice is merely the residue, the frozen aura released by the true black ice. Even that lesser ice doesn't melt in 10,000 years. You can imagine how powerful the real black ice must be. At this, the Dragon Maiden smiled faintly. I've told you where it is. Whether you can obtain it or not, that's your problem. You're hoping I'll clash with those deep-sea beasts, and then you can take advantage of the chaos to escape, aren't you? What a smartass, Suzimo said with a laugh. Even if I said yes, she countered. Would you refuse to go? Suzimo shook his head. That's an open trap, but one I can't easily avoid. His god soul returned to the outside world. Just as the Dragon Maiden had said, no matter the scheme, he still needed the deep-sea black ice. Their previous battle had already devastated millions of miles, killing countless sea creatures in its wake. Yet, those deep-sea behemoths had never surfaced. It meant they wished to remain undisturbed, dwelling quietly in the abyss. Suzimo locked onto the direction and began descending toward the ocean floor. The deeper he went, the stronger the pressure grew. But such pressure couldn't affect him. He descended for what felt like an eternity. Perhaps an hour passed, until the surrounding waters turned pitch black. That darkness carried an icy chill so sharp it pierced into his pores, making his whole body tremble. Jagged reefs appeared around him, intertwined with cold stone and strands of seaweed. At first, he paid them no mind, but the deeper he went, the colder it became, until even his limbs stiffened. He summoned his fire attribute aura to burn against the cold, keeping himself warm. Finally, when he looked up, he saw it, a faint outline deep within the darkness. A massive mountain of ice. The mountain seemed to merge with the black water around it, its darkness even purer than the abyss itself. Suzimo swam faster, enduring the biting chill that pressed against him. When he finally reached it, he realized how colossal it truly was, beyond what he'd imagined. Everything nearby was frozen solid, the depths silent and eternal. Before he could examine it closely, a massive black claw suddenly descended from above. Suzimo reacted instantly, retreating backward. With a thunderous boom, the water erupted, sending waves crashing in all directions. Steadying himself, Suzimo looked around. The darkness was even thicker now. He couldn't make out shapes, only countless glowing red eyes staring back at him from the void. Human? A deep, echoing voice resounded through the waters. This is not a place where you belong. I'm only here to collect some deep-sea black ice, Suzimo said with a smile. You wouldn't be so stingy, would you? A wave of murderous intent rippled through the sea. It was as if ancient beings had been roused in fury, their crimson eyes blazing with boundless power. Human, do not seek death, one of them growled. Suzimo only smiled, unmoved. Then I suppose, he said, there's nothing left but to fight. Just as the tension reached its peak and battle was about to erupt, the water around them suddenly shifted. A massive, ancient creature emerged from the depths. Suzimo couldn't make out its full form in the darkness, but its presence alone filled him with immense pressure. Enough! The creature's voice boomed. It turned toward Suzimo, silent for a long moment before speaking again. You may take the deep-sea black ice, but you must swear an oath. Once you obtain it, you will never set foot in this place again for the rest of your life. Sure. Suzumo nodded without hesitation. The colossal creature slowly raised its right claw. A massive claw swept across the sea, stirring up waves of black water before it slammed down onto the mountain of deep-sea black ice. Ancestor! The surrounding beings cried out in alarm. The ice mountain must not be destroyed. With a deafening boom, the peak of the mountain cracked, and a jagged shard of black ice broke off and fell downward. The colossal claw swung again, sending that shard flying straight toward Suzumo. Suzumo raised one hand and caught the oncoming shard directly. In that instant, upon contact, his entire body froze solid, transformed into an ice statue. A series of cracking sounds followed as fissures spread across the statue's surface until it finally shattered apart. What a ferocious cold! Suzumo muttered to himself, quickly storing away the shard of black ice. Thanks. Remember what you promised. The massive creature in the darkness rumbled. You must never set foot here again for the rest of your life. As Suzumo's figure disappeared into the distance, the silence of the deep sea erupted into noisy confusion. Ancestor, why would you give him the deep sea black ice? It is the foundation of our cultivation. Yes, that piece alone could sustain us for tens of thousands of years. The one they called Ancestor was their oldest elder, said to have lived since the ancient era, a true monster of ages past. But this time his actions baffled them all. The enormous being in the darkness remained silent for a moment before speaking slowly. When I was very young, my own ancestor once told me a story, he said. It happened long, long ago before even the ancient age. This world once endured an age of darkness. All living things were enslaved, and those who survived that era refused to speak of it again. They would not recall that grim, shadowed time. Though the darkness was eventually vanquished, he continued, it is said it was never truly destroyed. Someday it will return. But what does that have to do with him? One of the deep-sea beasts asked in confusion. You didn't sense it, the great creature replied. When you were about to fight, aside from that young man, I felt two other presences nearby, two overwhelming auras. The demonic energy in that moment. It reminded me of the very scenes my ancestor once described. Ancestor, you mean he's the one from that time? Before the voice could finish, the old one cut him off. Let us hope not, but better to believe than to deny. We cannot afford to provoke that demon. A mere piece of black ice means nothing. Wise as always, Ancestor. The surrounding sea beasts murmured in relief. That old beast is interesting, said Paimon with a grin from within the god world. Suzumo nodded slightly. He had expected another fierce battle, but it seemed the other side had no desire to fight. All the better, he said. It saves time. He tossed the deep-sea black ice to the Dragon Maiden. Will this be enough? He asked. Humph, those big brutes are only good for their size, the Dragon Maiden said with disdain. I expected more of them. There's something else I wanted to ask you, Suzumo said. What is it? She replied. That door, what exactly lies behind it? Suzumo asked. When he had struck that mysterious gate earlier, the Dragon Maiden had appeared. He suspected she wouldn't have shown herself otherwise. Her expression changed slightly. I advise you not to open it, she said. What lies beyond is pure calamity. You cannot bear the consequences. More calamitous than me? Suzumo countered with a faint smile. The pool of demon transformation, is it? So, that girl Meng you told you, the Dragon Maiden said coldly. Why? Suzumo asked. I knew that girl was up to no good, she replied indifferently. I heard she was your disciple. You don't seem very pleased with her, Suzumo said. There's no need to bring that up again, the Dragon Maiden said flatly. Find the flame capable of melting the weapon, and I will forge it for you. Suzumo nodded faintly. His god soul returned to the North Sea. Since the Dragon Maiden refused to speak further, There was no point in asking again. He would have to find the truth himself. He stepped toward the massive gate. The black and white door looked ancient, its surface worn and timeless, standing who knew how many years at the bottom of the sea. Shadow Tyrant appeared in his hand. With a single motion, Su Zimo unleashed a strike of pure, cutting blade energy. A muffled bang rang out, but the blade's power vanished upon contact. The great door did not move an inch. "My lord, allow me," came Paimon's voice. Su Zimo nodded. From within the god world, two enormous hands of swirling demonic energy extended outward. Dark power surged, tearing open the void, and struck the massive door. The sea roared as Paimon shouted one word. "Open!" Wind and thunder howled as demonic energy churned across the ocean. With a deep, grinding rumble, the gate began to open slowly. When the two doors had parted just enough to reveal a narrow passage, Paimon stopped. "My lord, be careful. Something isn't right here." Su Zimo nodded and stepped through the gap. The moment he entered, a wave of scorching heat washed over him. The flames were so intense they nearly burned him alive. Raising his head, Su Zimo saw that this was a world of fire, an entire realm encircled by crimson flame. It was almost unbelievable that beneath the cold North Sea, there existed a domain of such searing fire. The temperature was so high that even someone at Su Zimo's level struggled to endure it. The ground below burned a deep red, while the flames above flickered a golden yellow. The entire world was engulfed in roaring fire. Even the path beneath his feet was ablaze. Ordinary clothing would have been instantly reduced to ash here. With a wave of his hand, Su Zimo donned his infernal lord battle robe. The deep crimson cloak billowed behind him amid the flames, protecting him from the heat. Ancient forces stirred within the air. Whoever entered this realm could not fly, only walk upon the burning ground step by step. Su Zimo drew out the broken ox horn he carried. The moment he entered, the horn reacted violently, the demonic energy within it surging wildly. Dark tendrils of energy drifted through the air, merging with the ambient magic of this world. Before him, those black wisps converged into a long, narrow line of shadow. "It's guiding me?" Su Zimo murmured. Following the direction of the black line, he moved swiftly. After 5 or 6 minutes, he reached the end of this fiery realm. The space wasn't vast, but the flames here burned even hotter. When Su Zimo looked ahead, he saw, towering in the distance, a colossal statue of a god. The statue was lifelike, wearing black trousers, bare-chested. Its upper body appeared as though it were cracking apart, streams of molten lava weaving and pulsing beneath the surface. From its head rose a mane of fire-like hair, and from its temples, 2 dark crimson ox horns curved upward. Its face was gaunt, and from its brow downward spread glowing red markings like streams of molten blood. Su Zimo raised his head and stared at the statue. It seemed as if it might come alive, locking eyes with him. The statue floated high above the sea of flames, towering over everything below. Beneath it lay a black pool thick with demonic energy. Su Zimo guessed that this must be the pool of demon transformation that Meng Yu had mentioned. A dense wave of demonic energy mixed with the aura of beasts spread out from within. The demonic energy condensed into black water, streaked faintly with crimson in the darkness. The bull horn in Su Zimo's hand began to tremble violently. Strands of demonic energy curled through the air, swirling restlessly. Su Zimo spread his hands. Demonic energy surged from his right hand, vast, boundless, and burning even within the inferno. He pressed his palm downward, channeling torrents of demonic power into the pool. A deafening boom echoed out as the demonic waters churned wildly. The flames boiled and hissed, gurgling like molten metal. Sensing something beneath, Su Zimo slowly lifted his hand and shouted, "Rise!" A counterclockwise vortex formed in the center of the pool, spinning furiously. At last, a massive tombstone ascended from the depths. The stone was 1,000 meters tall, and on its face, an enormous creature was bound by chains of black iron. This being was just as large as the tombstone itself. Two broken bull horns crowned its head, one cracked and splintered, the other half missing. Su Zimo glanced down at the fragment of horn in his hand, silent. The bull demon's massive body was encased in armor made of stone. Its frame was gigantic and muscular, the sinews visibly bulging beneath thick fur. Two long brown braids hung down from either side of its face. At the center of its brow was a triangular mark. The bull demon appeared unconscious, completely devoid of awareness. Flames of deep crimson burned constantly across its body. As the stone monument rose from the pool, two fiery dragons burst from the molten depths. They seemed to be made of pure flame, lashing out like whips, striking the bull demon again and again. Even in its unconscious state, the relentless punishment did not stop. "It's the Red Blade Bull Demon," cried Seven-Face anxiously. "Lord, that old bull. It looks in terrible shape," Paimon shouted. "How could the old ox end up here?" "Save him first," Su Zimo ordered. He waved his right hand, and endless waves of demonic energy surged forward, engulfing the flaming whips and extinguishing them instantly. Drawing out Shadow Tyrant, he slashed at the chains that bound the bull demon. But with two dull clang sounds, the iron did not even crack, and Shadow Tyrant was instead repelled by a tremendous force. At that moment, something seemed to awaken. The entire world of flame began to quake. "Lord, move!" Paimon shouted. From below, the molten lava erupted like a volcano, spewing massive fireballs into the air towards Su Zimo. The heat was so intense it burned even the void itself into nothingness. Su Zimo dodged through the storm of fireballs, until he saw the statue above begin to move. Its head tilted downward, lifeless eyes staring directly at him. "Those who trespass upon forbidden ground, D." The statue's voice was cold, but filled with overwhelming killing intent. It raised its hand, and all the flames in the realm seemed to obey, surging toward Su Zimo from every direction. Su Zimo's eyes narrowed as the fire laws within him stirred. But to his shock, the flames he controlled no longer obeyed his will. All the fire in this world seemed to recognize only one master, the statue before him. He commands every flame. Su Zimo quickly shifted his elemental focus, converting his fire attribute into water. Yet in a realm of fire, water energy drained rapidly. Flames detonated all around him, and without the chance to resist, he was blasted backward. From the god world within him, Paimon and Seven-Face tore open the void and appeared in front of him. This statue, this thing, was like the true progenitor of fire itself. Flames moved with its will, as effortlessly as flexing a hand. "I think I know who he is," Su Zimo said gravely. "Who?" the two demons asked. "The ancient god Zhurong," Su Zimo answered, each word heavy. An elder in the unfinished palace, the one called San, had told him before that when the 9 ancient gods sought enlightenment, the fire god Zhurong's divine secret had been hidden within the North Sea. Zhurong, the fire among ancient gods. Now everything added up. "Be careful," Paimon warned. "This one's strong." "This shouldn't be the true ancient god," said Seven-Face. "It's only a remnant, an echo of his consciousness." Even a mere remnant of awareness was enough to pressure Saint Sovereigns. If the real ancient god were here, his power would be unimaginable. None from the primordial era were ever simple beings. D. The consciousness moved like a machine, mindlessly executing its single command. The world's flames grew even wilder, boiling seas of fire, exploding magma. Paimon soared upward, demonic power surging. Rolling clouds of darkness and sacred might gathered in his palm as he struck down. A thunderous explosion rocked the fiery realm, waves of molten energy rising into the sky. The consciousness vanished beneath the strike, but before Paimon could act again, scarlet fire burst before his eyes. He was forced back at once. "Cage of despair," Paimon roared. His demonic aura poured forth, shaping itself into a vast black prison that sealed the fire god's remnant within. Seven-faced execution. Seven-Face raised his mask, which split into seven, each representing joy, rage, sorrow, thought, grief, fear, and shock. The seven masks laughed maniacally, releasing torrents of demonic energy that enveloped the consciousness. Erase its awareness, the infernal archon commanded. Infernal power spread outward, the world itself swallowed by darkness. He held a seven-petaled lotus. One by one, the petals withered away. This creature's will, it's terrifyingly strong, he muttered, face tense. Before he could finish, the void shattered before them. Countless pillars of flame erupted skyward, sending all three of them flying. Zhurong's consciousness let out a furious roar. The sea of fire ignited anew, heat so fierce it obliterated everything. What's happening? Paimon shouted. I can't suppress it, the infernal archon replied grimly. Its mind is like forged steel. I can't erase it. Against the will of a saint sovereign, he could normally dominate for a moment. But this was something entirely beyond his reach. Fall back, Paimon ordered. What about the old bull? Seven-Face asked. If these flames keep burning, that old ox will be reduced to ashes before long. Kill, Suzimo replied simply without retreating. No matter how strong the fire, don't forget, this is the North Sea. Open that door and draw the seawater in. I don't believe it can evaporate an entire ocean. Paimon and Seven-Face both nodded. That was indeed a sound plan. Water counters fire, and the North Sea was vast beyond measure. I'll open the gate. You two hold it off, Paimon said. When they had entered, the great door had only been opened a crack. Now, with flames blocking the way, the sea beyond could not flow in. Paimon took a step forward, demonic energy surging from his hands as he gripped the two doors and tried to pull them apart. The consciousness seemed to sense what he was doing and charged at him. Seven Lotus Seal, Seven-Face shouted, stepping between them. The lotus in his hand bloomed, releasing a vast sigil that encircled the consciousness. He formed hundreds of hand seals in the blink of an eye, each merging into the lotus. I can trap it for a moment, he said. He waved his hands again, his own divine aura flaring as his true fate manifested. It was a demonic lotus, each of its seven petals representing a different meaning. Damn it, he cursed. This world is suppressing every primal Tao. We're being restricted. He's using the power of primordial edicts, Paimon grunted, still forcing the door open. The so-called ancient gods must have all been beings of the infinite Tao realm. Under the pressure of primordial edicts, even saint sovereigns were bound, unable to use their full strength. Primordial edicts were the greatest power in existence. Without them, there could be no order. From a single city to the entire world, rules and edicts governed everything. Great and small, visible and unseen. They hung over all creation like invisible blades, ensuring the world's balance. Without edicts, humanity's ugliness would overflow, and the world would decay into chaos. That was why the heavenly Tao's edicts reigned over all life. No matter the nomological truth or primal Tao, all must bow before them. None of them had ever seen a true ancient god before, but they could imagine the power. Even this fragment of consciousness was enough to make them tremble. Demonic lotus blooms, devours all laws. Seven-Face fused himself with the lotus, forcing his way through the suppression of the world's rules, imprisoning the consciousness once more. Suzimo prepared to summon his god world, but Paimon stopped him. My lord, your true fate is your foundation. You cannot risk it. Demonic energy swirled around Paimon as he split his being in two, body and soul. His physical form kept pushing the door, which now stood half open but still not enough. The flames here could incinerate anything. Strength alone would not win. They needed overwhelming force. 3,000 demon slaughter. Paimon's spirit body roared. A thunderclap tore through the void as his hands reached for sun, moon, and stars. Dark clouds of demonic energy covered the heavens, and his spirit merged within them. The storm of black clouds seemed to awaken. 3,000 shards of consciousness formed within, descending like meteors of magic. Each one crashed down upon the ancient god's consciousness. The meteors tore through its body, yet it would not die. It roared in rage, channeling the fire to shatter the lotus seal. Paimon's spirit fell from the sky, pressing both hands upon the lotus and pouring in torrents of demonic power. Demon Sakya Purgatory, he bellowed. His spirit pulsed with demonic energy, rising endlessly into the sky. Below, a reflection of hell itself took shape. Ghostly soldiers marching, rivers of blood, the cries of the damned echoing across the world. It was a realm of agony and madness. The infernal illusion wrapped itself around the demonic lotus, forming an isolated domain of torment. At the gate, Paimon's physical body continued its work. The massive door was now more than halfway open. The ancient god's consciousness, enraged, began to resist even more violently. From within, it hammered against the hellish prison and lotus alike, while from without, flames surged to consume everything. Su Zimo raised Shadow Tyrant, eyes narrowing as the primordial chaos bead flew out from his true fate god world. Primordial chaos was the origin of heaven and earth, the purest, most primal force of all. Under Su Zimo's control, the bead drifted toward the consciousness, absorbing streams of his energy as it went. The bead pierced through all illusory flames, releasing waves of raw, chaotic mist. "Imprison," Su Zimo commanded. The primordial chaos bead unleashed a ray of ancient brilliance, freezing everything, space, time, even the primordial edicts themselves. The stronger the bead's power, the greater the strain on Su Zimo. But there was no time to hold back. The consciousness had already broken free from the lotus and shattered the demon Sakya Purgatory. Yet before chaos itself, it faltered. The remnant was locked in place. At last, the great door connecting to the North Sea was completely opened by Paimon. "My lord, stop. You can't take much more," Paimon shouted. "Draw the North Sea inside. Don't worry about me," Su Zimo said through gritted teeth. His spirit energy was nearly depleted. The primordial chaos bead drained him like a bottomless abyss. His blood boiled in reverse. Veins bulged, and his skin flushed crimson. Paimon stepped out of the inferno and into the North Sea. Raising his arms, he stirred the world itself. Storms raged, and waves towered to the heavens as he summoned the sea's vast might. Endless waters roared toward the realm of fire. Tidal waves poured in, clashing against the inferno in a cataclysm of steam and flame. Paimon gave a cold snort, lifting his hands higher. The entire North Sea responded, an infinite ocean surrounding the fiery world completely. Su Zimo's eyes gleamed with determination. The primordial chaos bead's suppression intensified further. He could not allow the consciousness to escape. If it left the North Sea, none of them would be able to stop it. He had not felt such exhaustion in a long time, his power drained, his body screaming. "My lord, stop," Sevenface urged. "I once heard of the previous infernal lord," Su Zimo said, smiling faintly. "How he sent his people away and faced the entire world alone. I am not him, but I have my own resolve. If I can't endure even this much hardship, how can I ever stand against the heavenly Tao itself in the future? Draw the North Sea. Kill it." Paimon and Sevenface exchanged glances. Each ruled half of the sea, stirring the vast North Sea. As more and more water currents converged, the realm of flames shrank steadily. Paimon stepped into the air, his hands spread wide. Between them appeared a spear emanating dense demonic energy. "Demon spear slaying heaven," Paimon roared, thrusting the weapon forward. The spear pierced through layers of shattered void, stirring both sea and fire as it drove toward the consciousness entity. "Suppress." Su Zimo poured the last of his strength into the primordial chaos bead. The nearly dimmed primordial chaos bead once again shone brilliantly, suppressing the remnant consciousness. With a thunderous boom, the world of flames was ripped apart. The tip of the demonic spear pierced directly into the entity's forehead. In an instant, wind and thunder howled, Fierce gales condensed into countless demonic arrows that tore into its body. The consciousness entity screamed in agony. Under the control of Seven Face, the might of the North Sea surged higher and higher until it completely extinguished the world of flames. Finally, the consciousness entity exploded, and the shockwave sent everyone flying. The primordial chaos bead returned to the true life world, while Su Zimo's body collapsed to the ground. "My lord, are you all right?" Paimon asked, supporting him anxiously. Su Zimo waved his hand weakly, forcing himself to stand straight. He looked toward the place where the consciousness entity had exploded. There, a broken stone steel and a single flame floated in the air. "Bring it to me," Su Zimo said. Seven Face retrieved the steel. Su Zimo's eyes narrowed as he read the two characters carved upon it. Zhurong's inquiry. He stared at the steel, and suddenly the world before his eyes changed. It was as though his consciousness was drawn into a new realm. When he regained awareness, vivid scenes unfolded before him. A giant stood amidst a boundless land, his entire body engulfed in flames. The flames incinerated all things. He was revered as the god of fire. Zhurong, the first fire god of the world. The flame he used bore his name, the flame of Zhurong. He lived in the primordial era, the most primitive age of the nine heavens. Ancient gods ruled. Resources were scarce, and they were the leaders of existence. The vision shifted, and a question arose in Su Zimo's heart. What is fire? Some use fire to fight. It is violent, destructive, and scorching. Others use it to cook or to bring warmth. Fire, in its essence, is creation. Whether the blazing inferno that burns all things or the tiny spark used to cook a meal, both serve the needs of life. Thus, fire is the embodiment of creation. The scenes changed rapidly, and within mere moments, Su Zimo felt as if he had lived through countless ages. His vision finally returned to the North Sea. "My lord, are you all right?" Paimon asked again. "A bit weak. It'll take a long time to recover," Su Zimo replied, shaking his head. Ordinary exhaustion could be quickly restored at his level, but the primordial chaos bead had drained him deeply. Both his spirit and body, even his blood essence, were heavily depleted. When the vision faded, the words Zhurong's inquiry slowly disappeared from the steel. But within Su Zimo's mind, a new scripture emerged. One of the ancient divine secrets, Zhurong's inquiry. Zhurong was the master of fire, and naturally the scripture was all about the way of flame. Beside him, the crimson flame flickered. It was none other than the flame of Zhurong. Su Zimo reached out and collected the flame. Paimon and Seven Face returned to the god world, while Su Zimo found a quiet place to rest and recover. At this moment, in the Mirage Tides heaven, one of the nine heavens as well, the phantom sea surged faintly, gray and lifeless. In this place, nothing, no matter how light, could float upon its surface. Anything that touched the phantom sea sank instantly, without resistance. The phantom sea was a world unto itself. Beneath it lay the path to the netherworld, the final destination of all beings. This was the road of death, the end of everything. For this realm received only the dead. Death energy blanketed the entire world. The phantom sea was divided into 18 layers, each corresponding to the 18 hells. Here, there was no distinction between good and evil. All souls, regardless of merit, descended first into the 18th hell. Only through deeds and contributions could one ascend, layer by layer. Those who reached the first hell earned the right to reincarnate. Of course, reincarnation meant becoming a new person, all memories of the past life erased. In the Mirage Tides heaven, the first stop was Starhaven Stronghold. Beyond it lay Soul Gathering Pass. At this moment, before Starhaven Stronghold, countless souls of the dead were gathered, lining up to have their identities marked before entering. Suddenly, two beams of golden light burst open across the heavens. The Mirage Tides heaven was eternally shrouded in darkness. Thus, when golden light appeared, it was blinding, instantly drawing everyone's attention. The skies of the Mirage Tides heaven were torn open by a pair of hands, and from within stepped a figure clad in immortal robes. By decree of the heavenly court, I have come to capture a soul. I ask the Lord of Death to cooperate, the newcomer announced solemnly, unfurling a scroll in his hand. His voice echoed across the land. The crowd grew noisy, but no one answered. Where is the chief of Starhaven's stronghold? The immortal robed man demanded, eyes sharp as lightning. Who's making such a fuss? A lazy-sounding voice replied. A figure emerged above Starhaven's stronghold, a middle-aged person, neither clearly male nor female. He wore men's clothing, yet his features were delicate. Red lips, fine nose, and a soft, almost feminine voice. The heavenly court wants a certain soul. Please cooperate and help us find it, said the immortal robed envoy. When did matters of the Mirage Tides heaven fall under the heavenly court's authority? The middle-aged figure retorted. This is the immortal lord's command. Do you dare defy it? The envoy snapped. Have you forgotten what happened 300,000 years ago? If it's truly the immortal lord's order, have him come take the soul himself. Who do you think you are? The middle-aged one replied coldly. You of the Mirage Tides heaven grow more insolent by the day, the envoy said, his tone turning icy. I'll report this to the immortal lord, and you'll bear the consequences. Wait, the middle-aged person called as the envoy prepared to leave. What is it? The envoy frowned. This is the Mirage Tides heaven, the resting place of the dead. Do you think a living being can come and go as they please? The middle-aged one said. He spread his hands, and a vast portion of the phantom sea began to churn. Death energy surged forth, carrying the cries of the damned and the tides of blood from hell itself. You dare rebel? The envoy shouted in fury. At once, immortal light flared around him, forming a radiant sword as he charged forward. Rebel? We've never bowed to anyone, the middle-aged one replied with a grin. Perhaps in the outer realms you could contend with me, but here, in the Mirage Tides heaven, you're nothing but an insect. The blood sea swallowed the immortal light whole, engulfing the envoy completely.